inside my head is sad to fade away. To hear your quiet slowly distracts my head. It's a girl in the middle of the nothingness. You tell me why to all to the truth, and I spend 3 days explaining with you. And you disappear in front of my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm on the last. And the rhythm is a sunshine, my look. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. And I really miss the sunshine, my love. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. Thousands of people, friends, regardless directions ahead. It's only been lonely, I feel so lonely. I decide to rain. The gray inside my head is sad to fade away. To hear your quiet slowly distracts my head. It's a girl in the middle of the nothingness. And you tell me why to all to me true. And I spend 3 days explaining to you. And you disappear in front of my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm on the last. And I really miss the sunshine, my look. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. And I really miss the sunshine, my look. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. Tell me why you tell me why to all to the truth. And I spend 3 days explaining with you. And you disappear in front of my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm on the last. You tell me why to all to the truth. And I spend 3 days explaining with you. And you disappear. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. 1, 2, 3. Look into the eyes and you show the end of the world. I would never do love, but I would call it become. Can't express me still, can't express me still. The absolution. Can't express me still, can't express me still. The absolution of love. It's so precious, baby, it's so precious, baby. That's what you are. It's so precious, baby, it's so precious, baby. That's what you are. Next time you say don't talk, I say you talk. Because no one's lets me life. I need to compromise my life. And I say that you always are. But that's sad. Because can't express myself, can't express myself. Because can't express myself, can't express myself. The absolution. It's so precious, baby, it's so precious, baby. That's what you are.
Hello everyone, sorry there for the slight delay. It doesn't seem like my camera is showing up. I set up the whole show to be on camera, and yet I'm noticing, oh, there's me. Alright, so there's a picture of me. Hello everyone. Are you having a messed up Sunday too? This isn't the exciting one that I wanted to show you guys, but it is on there anyway, so I'll see if I can sort out the video camera, like why that's not showing up on the main screen, because I didn't want to be so tiny, so super tiny. Move this up. I'm having a hard time. How are you guys doing today? In honor of this being the last weekend before the EU elections, I've got on my anti-sargonism is the new punk rock t-shirt. Just one last, because, after this weekend, it's going to be all done. We're going to be, well, not Carl free, because Carl will always, he's going to be around. But I'm just going to try this one other transition to see, where did I go? This is so weird. So anyway, yeah, it's just the last weekend to be with him, to talk about him as a candidate, because he will definitely not be winning his election. So we're just going to leave off with that even option. And I can take this off now. Yeah, so that's what the t-shirt is all about. Sorry guys, I'm still quite thrown by the fact that one of my media sources is not showing up, and that's very much throwing me off my game, because I had spent plenty of time organizing this before we went on there. So let me see if I can just reintroduce the missing piece of source information while I talk to you, because I'm entirely capable of talking and doing this stuff at the same time. I have to do it with a happy hour all the time, and now it's working. Alright, I see it. We'll move it over there and look. There we go. Aw, I'm getting so good at this tech stuff, you guys. Rather than letting it fluster me, I just roll with it. So here we are. This is the one that I wanted to show you guys, because it's got the puppies and the kitties in it. And on a Sunday morning, when you wake up and your eyes are still feeling really soft and heavy, and that you don't want to use them very much, puppies and kitties are very gentle on the eyes. Much more so than Carl Benjamin, I'd say. All right, now that we are set up properly, now that we know what we're doing here in terms of which screen is working and what screen isn't working together. Words are hard in the morning. But I did come prepared a bit more this time, you guys. In addition to digging out, it's very wrinkly. You can see I don't really wear this t-shirt very often. Let me pull this up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so you can get the full... Oh, this way. Yeah, there we go. Sargonism is the new punk rock. And then I go off the shoulders, so be a little sexy, but not too sexy. Not too sexy on a Sunday morning. Yeah, and then the other thing I did find, which you can't see quite how colorful it is, but it is a plastic lei from Carnival Time. And I was thinking about putting that up on my microphone, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, you can see both the anti-sarconism is the new punk rock and my lei. So I'll just move my mic over a bit here. I really should do this stuff before I come on air, you guys. All right, that's the beginning of the show. Hello. That's the 10 minutes of nonsense. Okay, 5 minutes of nonsense. Talking about garbage. This is the stuff that you can get cut out of any excerpts. I'm going to look at the chat to see how you guys are doing. So I can do that actually with a different screen now that I've made all this effort to get this one set up. But let's have a look at the chat, you guys. And, oh wait, oh, that's kind of small. But, you'll figure it out. Our reaction be small. That one's better. Alright, we'll do this one instead. With my very pretty backgrounds as well. I think that's called oil lamps or something like that in the Windows store. So, hello chat, I said. And in response, I got Heather in the chat. Hello, good morning, Heather. How is my mic doing, by the way? A little on the soft side. I'm not peaking too much. I might just bring this up a tad. Because I don't feel like projecting my voice very much, and then I'll be very soft for the whole show if I don't. Just tick that up. Right. Hi, Eva. Felt like you say you're feeling like someone beat you with a golf club. No, it's okay if you're not chatty. You can just close your eyes and listen to the, me natter on and occasionally look at the chat. Jared is greeting all the degenerate soy boys and girls in the chat. Owen says, no problem, apologize for the beating earlier, but I felt like Tiger Woods. There's a little playing going on in the chat back and forth. Pris says, today is a day of amazing schadenfreude. I assume that you're talking about that far-right party dude who got exposed for like trying to link up with the Russians and being a general naughty person. I try not to swear on the Sunday because I really want some of my content monetized, and nothing that I do with Kevin can get monetized. So I'm trying to make my Sunday show the family-friendly show. So I'm gonna try to keep my language nice. 250 says, was that person on Twitter all right? Oh, yes. So just a little update on John. John is okay. Actually, John reached out to try to organize, like, I don't know, some appearance. I can't organize an appearance this early in the morning, people. It requires Skype and some kind of app and OBS thing. I can't do that. But next week we might look a little bit at John's music, because it was just too late. Like, he reached out at like 11 o'clock last night, and it was too late to put anything together. But yes, John is okay. For those of you who saw me talking about it on Twitter or in Steve Shive's live chat during his Ask Me Anything show, John is okay. Mithril says, James says, ahoy, ahoy. Mithril says, happy Sunday, all. And you bought Dark Souls 3. Okay, I'm going to skip that because it's a gaming comment. The Austrian right-wing government collapsed. New elections in September. Oh, it's even more profound than I thought it was. I just got the expose part of it. I didn't realize that they were going to have an entirely new election. That's awesome. You're right. It is a day for Schadenfreude because Austria has some really awful right-wing people in their politics. And, like, scary people. So that's... and we know what comes out of Austria in terms of the right-wing in the past has not always been good for Europe. So happy to see change in that direction. I guess I can also bring that over so you can kind of still see me. All right, I'm pretty tiny in this window, but what else have we got? The Soul series. Are you talking about gaming? Yada yada. Sargon is delusional. He claims every defeat is a victory. Yeah, that's true. Never let... He's pretty much... He's like the really bad, not competent version of Roger Stone. Well, he tries to be like a Roger Stone, but he's not competent enough to be both devious and effective. So he ends up just coming across as a jerk. You're better at tech issues than me. I'd be raging and swearing. Well, I have to kind of keep my calm, during a live show, so it's just practice, to be honest. We're going to Ibiza? Really? That is fantastic. Is that dog on a husky a puppy or an Alaska? I know which dog breeds are in my videos. I don't know which dog breeds are in my videos, you guys. Who else have we got here? Kevin is a demonetization demon. Yeah, I mean, he just, it's so spontaneous. The thing is, I've been trying a little bit to, and I got I got a couple complaints, but I'm trying to find a way to, like, preserve our content by doing some excerpts and bleeping out Kevin. But for me, I'm so used to Kevin swearing, it's actually hard for me to listen for swear words when I listen back, because it's just so naturally, it's just like part of his cadence when he drops F-bombs or whatever else. And so sometimes I end up I had to listen to like a 10-minute clip or a 20-minute clip 3 times just to make sure I caught all the swear words, because obviously, to listen for just swear words in a 20-minute segment, your attention can wander and you might just get caught up in the conversation, you might get distracted. So, I spend an hour trying to edit out these swear words, and sometimes I still miss them, but anyway. Christy hates gamers. I don't hate gamers. I just have nothing to offer your conversation, so I'll let you guys get on with it. Don't take it as hate, man. Why gotta be hate? It doesn't always have to be hate. Some of us are generally supposed to swear like longshoremen and must accept we can never be monetized. Yeah, that might be the case. I think Kevin pretty much embraces it, but what he doesn't realize is that, like, my student loan payment at this point is as much as my rent. So a little bit of ad revenue actually does help. Like, it really eases off over the course of a year. Like, it can aggregate to like half a payment or a whole payment if I'm really lucky. So this is a really boring conversation, but ultimately I'm trying to reclaim more of my content for monetization. But I don't hate people who swear. Right. Did I see the Eurovision Song Contest last night? No, I boycotted it entirely. I did not share anything about the Eurovision. I didn't promote anything about Eurovision. I didn't talk about Eurovision. I didn't hashtag Eurovision. And I certainly did not watch Eurovision. I'll look at the coverage, like, you know, now afterwards when it's done in the media. I will look at, you know, the contestants and how it all went. But no, I actually, when I woke up this morning and I was checking my Twitter feed, what I was most surprised at was like, oh, Eurovision happened last night. Because I just totally blanked it this year. And, you know, that's, so with boycotts like that or media blackouts or whatever. Oh, yeah, did I mention I came prepared today? I brought coffee in a thermos to work. I even put in some vanilla soy milk so that I could top it up. Cheers, you guys. Better than a glass of wine at noon. Tufidi asks, why are people boycotting Eurovision? It's taking place, or it took place now, in Israel. And while I don't, you know, have particular objections with people in Israel who are for peace, the Israeli government is clearly corrupt, reactionary, and, you know, on the edges of drifting away from a proper democracy, in my opinion, and they commit continual human rights violations. So I think you have to stand up for, you know, you can reject those things in a commercial settings. There's no obligation to patronize or to support Eurovision. And if it's in a country with so many human rights violations, I'm not gonna look at the whole Israel-Palestine thing is a nightmare, and everyone has messed up, and everyone has been victimized, and everyone has good points, and everyone is being ridiculous. All right, I'm just saying, like it's not an easy. It's not like for me abortion rights in the U.S. where you go, no, there's just one position, which is that women's rights are human rights. Human rights include bodily autonomy. Ergo, there is no acceptable position except for having safe and legal abortion as a premise, and then you can, you know, legislate to protect, let's say, you know, a viable fetus when the state has an interest in protecting an independent life, but in the first two trimesters should be pretty liberal. That's my position on abortion because of a principle. Whereas Israel-Palestine has been like back and forth and back and forth. But anyway, regardless of what has happened between the Palestinians and the Israelis, the Israeli government is still responsible for its policies. Its policies of building walls, of destroying settlements, of displacing people, of all the bullshit. And that I was like, whew, I almost a little the bull that it's wearing down people. It's meant to ethnically cleanse an area. So there's no position. I have no problem, and I had no problem with people boycotting it because it was happening in Israel, and to not give them the revenue, to not give them the attention or legitimacy. And I feel bad for the artists who had to compete in this year. It's not musicians' fault that Israel has really terrible policies, but on the other hand, you can't ignore it as well. So that's what my understanding of what people's objections were, and I thought that they made some darn good points. And so I'm making sure that my propaganda here, my last attempt to influence the EU elections, it can be read. Sargonism is the new punk. Anti-Sargonism is the new punk rock, and that is the story of Eurovision 2019. Favorite YouTube TV show is Australian MasterChef. Oh, yeah, actually, you know what I really like from Australia, which I have a hard time finding now, is My Kitchen Rules. I loved watching Pete and Manu and everything about it. Did I boycott it when it was in Azerbaijan? I have no idea what year it was. I have to remember, as an American, I only really learned about Eurovision when I moved to the UK. And then as a student, it was just, you know, for most of the time I was a master's student or a PhD student. It was something that was happening in the background, but I wasn't into Eurovision. It was more sort of like a phenomenon for me. I don't even know what year it was in Azerbaijan, so I can't tell you. I'm not a big, like I said, Eurovision person. It just happens this year to be in a place that I can see why people would want to boycott it. During the voting, Iceland was showing her Palestinian flags. Nice. That's, yeah, hashtag free speech, right? Why do I think the right's message has resonated so much on YouTube, asks Flo. Well, if you're posing that question to me, sorry guys, I did kind of have a show, but let's just go with the chat because it's easier and I'm kind of lazy today and I didn't have that much prepared. So Flo asks, why do I think right-wing message resonates so much on YouTube? Look at the demographics. I think if you look at the demographics of who consumes political content, not makeup content or what other content is there on YouTube that's like huge markets, video gaming, that kind of thing. But if you examine who clicks on political videos or videos about politics, I'm going to give you a massive prediction based on my own experience. My audience, according to YouTube, is between 75 and 80% men. And of that, they are predominantly in the demographic of being under the age of 45. So if you can do I don't know what ethnicity is, but when you figure that, whites make up the largest overall group in the United States. So in terms of the chances of any guy on YouTube under the age of 45 in America who has been, or in Western Europe even, who's been watching a politics video, chances are it's a white guy under the age of 45. And so you just end up getting the Republican demographic, like the Republican Party's demographic. What is the Republican Party's demographic? Well, one, it's older, okay? So in the general population, they're going to skew older than they do on YouTube. But YouTube is a younger person's medium. You don't get a lot of seniors spending a lot of time watching things on YouTube. Maybe in 20 years, when I retire, I'll be a senior watching things on YouTube. But in the meantime, you have younger men who are affluent enough to have access to technology and to have enough free time to spend a lot of it watching on YouTube. So there's I think, a skew toward basically the kind of demographics that the Republican Party goes for. It's the same demographic as AM radio. And with that, you're just going to end up with more possibility to reach men who are right-wing, because that's kind of where the pool of the audience is. So I don't think it does well because it's right. I think it does well because there is a self-selection bias on YouTube, that sort of the angry white dudes are looking to find content from other angry white dudes to legitimize their feelings and their takes. And I think that's mostly how YouTube radicalizes, by not only appealing to a grievance culture that conservative white men, reactionary white men have profited from forever. You want to talk about outrage culture and grievance culture. Preachers have been cashing in on that since time immemorial, when there was Roman coins. Right? As a consequence, I think that's why you end up seeing more of it than in the general population. Okay, what do you got here? Only the last few months have I seen legitimate pushback. If you mean on YouTube, there's been a left-wing pushback forever. It's just the channels are smaller because there's a smaller audience. I mean, Kevin has been going with his manosphere. He's on episode 60 or something now. He's been churning out critique stuff on YouTube since 2015. I've been doing it since circa 2016. Garrett, do you guys know Garrett from back in the day when he did his first really big critique video on the Armored Skeptics? So it's been around a lot, but people maybe just become more aware of it. Oh, John is in the chat, I see. So everyone say hi to John and wish him well. Yeah, and I've been around for years too, guys. I'm there's a tendency to I don't know, does H-Bomb even make YouTube content critiquing skeptics? I mean, he did it back in the past, and I don't know what he's doing on Twitch, but that guy gets a lot of coattails for stuff he did back in 2016. Azerbaijan was 2012. Oh, that was ages ago. Yeah, I don't even know if I was paying attention to it that year. You guys have continued on with the conversation, so I've a hard time seeing Warcorpse as a preacher. Well, if you just take away his atheism and you replace it with a blind belief in God, it's not that much of a leap, actually, because it's kind of the same, misogyny, same reactionary perspective that he has on everything else. Kevin's interview with the S Island podcast is really good. Recommend it. Yep, go check that out. I started to listen to it, but then it was 11 o'clock at night and I didn't anymore. All right. So that's the chat, you guys. That was fun. I guess we should probably do something else. I mean, it's kind of, not that it's bad to have a whole show just devoted to the chat, but I did have a couple things lined up. So the first thing was, I thought we'd start with some soft stuff, kind of get into things a little more gently. I do have some Sargon things, but I thought I'd wait till hour 2 to dive into that. But one piece of good news that I did see while I was scrolling through, searching through things to look at on YouTube. You can't see it yet, but you can see cute animals. Yeah, you sit and be comfortable. I'm going to get my headphones sorted out, and then we'll switch the screen. Yeah, so I saw this happy news, and I thought, well, that's worth a mention, because it's not often that YouTube. Well, here's the thing about YouTube making its environment a better place. YouTube has, in my opinion, a head in the sand approach to dealing with harassment and violent threats on their platform. Basically, what YouTube says is, we're not going to let you see things, including death threats or threats of violence or blackmail. You can shadow ban someone, and they can still say every day on your channel that they want to kill you and that they're going to come to your house. They can post that, you just won't see it. And to YouTube, that's a solution. I don't think that's a solution, personally, as a creator, and as someone who gets awful comments whenever I criticize certain people on the right. But in a similar vein, I'm going to switch over now to my other screen. Reaction with me small. Yep, that's the one. This guy discovered that CUCK is being soft banned from the YouTube comment section. And how he discovered it was by looking at his likely spam window. When you're a creator, you get 3 types of comments that you can review in terms of how YouTube presents people's reactions, the things that they write. You get published comments if you have that setting that basically if there's no words that I put into my filter to be to go off to hold this comment back, just publish everything. Then we have another tab that is for things that need to be reviewed. These are words that you did have a filter on that, for some reason, maybe there's a hyperlink, but you have to approve it before it becomes visible on your channel comments. And then the last window is called likely spam. And that's where they dump anything that has repetitive phrasing, like if someone just spams the same comment on your one video 6 times, or the same comment on 6 of your videos, if they have that identical text, it gets flagged up. And apparently what YouTube have started doing now is they've started to soft ban or shadow ban comments that have the word cuck, so you see in K in it, which I actually think is a good idea. I mean, it's not a perfect solution because, again, YouTube it's a head in the sand situation, but at least they are proactively screening out from creators that term in all of the comments. Which, I mean, I would bet since, say, this has gone into effect, a lot of comments on Carl Benjamin's channel and Armored Skeptic and all of that have just now been flooded into the likely spam. Creators can go through and individually approve every single comment, but honestly, if some of these edgelords are getting 200 or 300 comments a day that have this word in it, they're not going to have time to mass approve all of those comments. It'll be interesting to see. So if you have noticed or notice next time you go onto a channel that you don't see that particular word in anybody's responses in the comments underneath the video, it's not just because that, it's gone out of fashion. It's because YouTube is scooping it up as an inappropriate phrase or term to be using on their platform. Like that or hate that, that's a thing. James Russell, how did you like that Briggs video I posted to the group? Honestly, James, I'm going to be honest. I've seen so many videos in the last couple days. I have a vague recollection of seeing something in the group, but my brain has just been taking in information and after information, so apologies. But if you want to go and find out what James is talking about, you can go to the Happy Hour Facebook group and find out. And by the way, just to promote it again, because Podbean... Here we go. In case you didn't know, I'm going to do the podcasts happy hour. In case you didn't know, you can go to Podbean. This is the official podcast host of the Happy Hour, mostly because I'm too damn lazy to put it up on iTunes or Spotify or any other quality. We're not going to... I don't know, Christine Kev. Otherwise, I'm going to have to log in, and I really don't want to have to be bothered with that. There we go. Yeah, you can go on Podbean, and you can get a copy of an audio downloadable listen. And we're all caught up even. I think there's one bit where there's a gap, but I think that's because I was in the UK for a really long time. There's between the Deselect Carl Benjamin and the Beautiful Destruction episodes. I think I was gone for 2 weeks in the UK, which is why there's no happy hour during that time, but all caught up. Please go ahead and subscribe to that, listen to those, enjoy them. I know sometimes people don't want to use their mobile phone YouTube app to listen to it, so you can do it as a podcast now. All right, this is that was okay. We're gonna do some Screwface Gene because we haven't done Screwface Gene for a while, and also he had done this pair up with Quadeca, and you guys know I like Quadeca. We listened to his last album, and I owe Quadeca a bit of an apology. It's not so much that so I said that he had demonetized the video review, which was kind of true. My video had been demonetized from listening to his voice memos record album. It wasn't his studio, or it wasn't his copyright people, or even him himself who did the claim. There's a 5-second or a 10-second. Guys, I just remembered I have to do something. I don't have to leave or anything. I just remembered I wanted to do something. There's this little bit of music where he samples someone else's music, and that little bit of music is what drew the copyright strike. So now he did that whole album, and I made a whole video, but because he sampled 5 seconds of a song, the monetization's been claimed by that studio, and now all the royalties will go to them. It's BS. There is something I am trying to do to improve my audio voice. I am trying to remove the word so from my vocabulary. I'm trying to remove the word and, because I know I have a very long and when I talk, and I find myself annoying. So this is a technique where you just put a note to say, don't say this, don't say that. I'm going to put it up. It's kind of like when I put up my muted mic thing. It's hard to do. And I'm going to try to not to use those two words as often by subconsciously having the interdict sign underneath. Where were we? Yes, we were on hip hop. Right? Getting back to it. We're going to listen to this partnership, or it's Screwface Gene featuring Quadeca. I've not heard it before. I have no idea if it's any good. I have no idea if there's bad words in it. I have no idea if I'm going to like it, but we're going to listen to it together and react to it because it's soft and easy, and also because I like promoting people here on YouTube. So we're going to check this out by hitting play. I'm going to do a sound check. I did before we went on the stream, but in case it's either too loud or too soft, I will adjust. So let's hear how it goes. That seems super loud to me already. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. The one thing about YouTube is that videos can have completely different audio levels, and so you can get some where people are just talking outside and you have to really crank it up to hear it. Other times they produce it in such a way that you have to, like, if you had it on 2, it's loud enough. Because they've jacked the audio amplifier, up. But we'll see. Make sure that this isn't too painful on the ears. Okay. Alright, I think part of the problem is that my speakers are different from the internal. So I'll bring this down. I'll bring this back up. And we'll try it one more time. Yeah? Okay. Turn the desktop audio up a bit. Turn mine up a bit as well. I think I'm a bit soft. Alright. That was a bit loud. Sorry, guys. Alright, it's looking good so far.
Bow with me, sweetheart.
Ooh, that was a bit loud. Sorry, I'm totally obsessed with the audio. I really need like an audio technician to help me on a Sunday doing my audio stuff because it gets really distracting. But anyway.
It's the city of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in Illy more, really, city of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in Illy more, really, y'all gotta start laying.
Yeah, that's a good kind of hook to start the song off with. Of course, I was all distracted by the audio levels, but you start grooving to it almost immediately. That's enjoyable. So I'm gonna just back that up a little bit because I again felt a bit distracted while I was listening. So I'm gonna really try to listen to the music this time. We'll skip the intro we've done 5 times, but let's hear the chorus coming in, I guess, or whatever.
It's the city of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in Illy more, really, city of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in Illy more, really. Y'all gotta start laying down, stop playing around with the coach. Y'all do the most. I was born right in Schitt's Creek, learn how to roll just to stay afloat. So when they ask me if we all in the same boat, I may be like, no, just to be dope, I sacrifice the most, like cutting the throat or the motherfucking go. Whoa, this shit is.
I love how he uses the full range of his voice when he does his flow. He's got guttural bits and he's got soft and smooth bits, and he really knows how to tap into the full range of from guttural to smooth in order to accentuate the lyrics that he's saying. So, or the bars, I guess, that he's dropping. One would say. I'm enjoying this so far.
Raw, swear I was born in the city of gods. Try to get Christ in my life, but the closest to Christian I got was just Christian Dior. Critics are whores, I get up and raw. Then buy me a watch that I couldn't before. Couldn't afford. Now the bezel got infinity stones like Ebony Maw. Damn, I'm snapping like Thanos. Rainbow and running around.
Snapping like Thanos. That's good. I like that. That's like I love his flow. Screwface Gene. He's got some great bars.
I'm gonna put a damn hole in the sand boat. Get shot then you fuck like Bang Bros. Damn bro, why you going so ham though? Fuck that, I'll be smooth like Lando. Cause I can pull straight too.
Smooth like Lando. Oh, these are great. These are some great lines coming out. Let's love it. I just love it.
Banjo, and you can't see me do camo. In the jungle, if you're roly, got a dapper hands. Then Goonies coming with that 9 iron like they bag of Vans. I don't really want nothing from you but a cash advance. And once I hit that illy mode, you fuckers never had a chance. Oh man. City of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before.
I just say Quadeca's got nothing going on so far. I guess this is all screw. No disrespect to Quadeca, but he doesn't seem to be on the chorus. He's not fluent. He's not dropping anything yet, so he's just sort of in the background. But I'm sure he'll step up, when it's his moment. But right now, this is all Screwface Gene. So.
For you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in Illy mode, really, city of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby.
Also, another thing I want to mention is you can hear a little bit of the auto-tune. So certainly it's not as bad as some auto-tune I've heard where, it's a really strong effect. And I watched a video of a review of Quadeca recently where he talked about auto-tune being like a smooth auto-tune on that. I could see where, in this case, a little bit of a tongue could I don't want to. It shouldn't take away from the lyrics or the voice, but it also might creates that sort of effect. So in this case, I'm not really hating the auto tune on the song.
You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in illy mode, really.
Yeah, back on my bullshit. I turn my back to the bullshit.
Oh yeah.
I'm rapping it, all gon' react to the bullshit. Never was trapping with gats in a full clip, but I'm full of clips. Everybody's my son. Money in the bank, everybody wanna run.
Yeah.
They heading for the drum. Mention where I'm from, ain't nobody gonna tell me when I'm done. So I'm emptying my lungs with the belly of a beast. Coming from a plate, but you're never gonna eat. Thinking everything is sweet, but it's never been a treat. I am not like all these bitches that you mention in your tweet. Facts, telling me a dream. Funny because everything is really how it seems. Going illy mode, I've been illin', that is really what I mean. He is not a human, he is really a machine.
Wow. Yeah, he came for this feature. You know, he was in the background, but when he stepped up into the spotlight, he's taken the attention onto himself. So, Quadeca, with the lyrical power here really standing out in this second third of the song.
Yeah. It ain't even fucking close, to be honest. Everybody think they're getting 15 minutes, but they need a coach, to be honest. They don't like me cause I'm overly honest, but this shit ain't supposed to be promised. Yeah, the city is emotionally toxic, I'm vocally conscious of fucking emotion and all with
city of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in illy mode, really though.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Quadeca's part there. I mean, obviously they're kind of winding it down now. There's a lot about the video in terms of production that I like as well. There are some effects going on there. Although, with the backdrop, I don't know. I guess, if I were, I'm not a professional videographer in the same way. But I think I probably would have changed it up a little bit more. They seem to be in a very sort of one part of town. And they're just, like they had 4 hours to do about 3 times. But anyway, I mean, it's a YouTube video. It's really good. But I got to find something to react to, right?
City of gods, look where we are, baby. You never did this before, you with the stars, baby. You know we itching for all, looking for y'all, baby. Cause I'm in illy mode, really though.
Alright, so there we go. Screwface Jean, that's a great song. I would totally, I don't know if this is available on Spotify, having not heard it before we just listened to it, but I would definitely put that on my hip-hop mix, where I've got, some Crypt and some Token already. So I have to find Screwface Jean on Spotify. Put him on there too. That's a great song. I really enjoyed that. Have I listened to Akala? Strongly recommend his first Fire in the Booth. I have not, and I should. You're right. I have so much hip hop. There's so much to be getting on with hip hop wise. So for you guys, go check out Screwface Jean here on YouTube, as well as on wherever else he puts a song up. Let's take a look and see if he advertises it on Spotify. Show more. He's on his way to 70. Yep, there's a Spotify. Let's go ahead and give him a follow on Spotify. Because I definitely have Spotify. Wow, it was crazy to, for me to not listen. I listened to Hamilton for like so long. Screwface Jean? I don't know. There's a couple Screwfaces, so I want to make sure I get the right one. That's not working. Let's try again. Now that I'm logged in. Screwface Jean, it doesn't actually go to your dang thing. What's going on here? It just says artist and then some sort of hyperlink. This was not supposed to be as difficult as this. It was supposed to be like a symbolic thing where I go and I just like log in and find your page, and I can't find you, Screwface Jean. Check your links. Check your damn links. I want to follow you on Spotify. I can't find you. Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. Oh, that doesn't work. Alright, how about this? I think maybe I'm spelling his name incorrectly. So I'm gonna spell it the way he spells it here. And if that doesn't work, then you know what? I freaking tried. No, I don't want. I want to search here. There we go. Hey! There he is. Okay. Oh. Alright. You know, I quit. I I can't. I don't understand what's happening. I can't find your music. I'll do it later. Alright, guys. Let's see now. Yeah, I tried that. Maybe someone is saying it's screw face with 2 words instead of screw face Jean. What about if I did it like this? Alright, maybe this'll work. Will it carry over my log? Yes! Finally! And how do I follow him? Start radio, copy artist link. I just want to follow him. Anyway, here's Illy Mode. I told you I was going to put it on my playlist. I am going to add it to my playlist. What playlist, you might ask? Will I be adding it to? It's my hip hop tracks playlist. If Spotify is just hating me today, it won't. It won't do. It just won't let me get just anything. Alright, so if I hit play on this, someone in the chat saying, then I should be able to add it. Alright. We don't need to hear it again. And there we go. Add to playlist. Now, normally when I do this, it will give me a playlist to choose from. And it's not. Wow, Spotify is spotty. Yes, to say the least. To say the absolute least. So, I made my good faith effort. I'll find screw face, 2 words, Jean, 3 words. Later on. You love watching me fail at computer stuff. That's why people tune in. That's why you guys throw me all that cash every month on Patreon. It's to watch me fail at doing basic technology live. Alright, here's what I'm thinking. We've been going 45 minutes, and I have plenty of coffee with me, but I'm going to need a comfort break. And actually, I'm getting to the bottom of my cafe. Ja, ich möchte einen Kaffee. My German is bleeding into my English. I might make a top-up. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a break at 45 minutes in. I know normally we tend to go closer to an hour before we take a break, but I'm tired, you guys. I've had a week. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll shake my handkerchief at you, which is really nice. I'll just give you a little why I'm so tired, and then what we'll do in the second half. Second half, we will look at this Sargon It's Cancelled compilation, because there's some stuff that's happened since the last happy hour I'd like to update you guys on. And then we'll look at the chat a bit more. And then if there's still time, I don't know, we'll maybe look at a PragerU video or do some sort of discourse analysis on a reaction. But my week, you guys, my week. It was fine in the end, but on Monday, I learned a project that I was under the impression was under control and was on schedule, was actually nowhere near on schedule, was nowhere near prepared to the level I had expected it to be done at. And also, the person had shifted a whole bunch of work to me without telling me. So, besides being a very unhappy bunny, I then had to pull together my team and create 3 hours worth of training materials, plus all of this supporting materials and all of the bibliography and some teaching materials like a classroom activity and a quiz, and thematically link together the 4 lectures so people can understand the progression of ideas in 3 days. Because by Friday, I needed time to photocopy all of it. So my week was, in the end, it got done. In the end, it got done, and in the end, it looked great. In the end, on Monday, I will have content to present for the 3 hours that I have to be stood up in front of people presenting information. But it just threw everything else that I had planned to do this week on my stuff into crisis. It shifted everything back, and by taking care of this crisis, I've now have put other things into crisis because they're my deadlines that I thought I would be able to meet by doing work this week. So I'm just like, I don't have a lot of energy. And with that babbling about my first world problems, and they are totally first world problems, I will admit that. But it was stressful because I like to do things to a certain standard, and I have certain expectations for things associated with my name, that I wouldn't put out stuff that I'm embarrassed about. So of course, that puts pressure on me to make everything perfect which could have been done months ago. But anyway, that being said, I'm just a little bit tired this week, which is why I'm only going to 45 minutes. So we're going to take a little breaky break here. I'm going to put back on that mix from Yellow Cab. I think that's the name of the artist. And we're going to take let's call it a 5-minute break, 7-minute break. And I think I'm going to switch shoulders here. Like, this shirt keeps falling off one shoulder, but I think I prefer it falls off that shoulder because you can read it then. I have to balance this between being high enough to be read, but not so, like forward that so you can only see the bottom half of it. Because it's basically, it's making fun of both Paul Joseph Watson and Sargon of Akkad. Because Paul Joseph Watson had that stupid conservatism is the new punk rock meme with a cigarette hanging out a couple of years back, and then Sargon. Offer beverage, yes, or crap. Yes, like with Carl, you need a tea and a poo. This is your time. All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking. We're going to go back to the pre-show, and we will see you back in 5 to 7 minutes. That means at about 52 minutes past the hour. See you in a bit.
It's only been long as I feel so lonely. I decide to run. The grains on my head is sad to fade away. To hear you quiet slowly distracts my head. It's a girl in the middle of the nothingness. You tell me why to alter the truth, and I stand to explain it with you. And you disappear in front of my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm on the last. And the rhythm is a sunshine, my look. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. And I really miss the sunshine, my love. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. Thousands of people, friends, regardless directions ahead. It's only been long as I feel so lonely. I decide to rain. The grains on my head is sad to fade away. To hear you quiet slowly distracts my head. It's a girl in the middle of the nothingness. And you tell me why to alter my truth, and I spend 3 days explaining to you. And you disappear in front of my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm on the last. And I really miss the sunshine, my love. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. And I really miss the sunshine, my love. And I really miss the sunshine, baby. Oh yeah. Do me right to you. You tell me why to alter the truth, and I spend 3 days explaining with you. And you disappear in front of my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm on the last. You tell me why to alter the truth, and I spend 3 days explaining with you. And you disappear. And I really miss the sunshine. two, three. Look into the eyes and you show the end of the world. I would never do love, but I would call it vegan. Can't express what you feel, can't express what you feel. The absolution. Can't express what you feel, can't express what you feel. The absolution of love. It's a precious baby, it's a precious baby. That's what you are. It's a precious baby, it's a precious baby. Next time you say don't talk, I say you talk. Because no one's lived my life. I need to compromise my life. And I say that you always saw. But that's sad. Because can't express myself, can't express myself. Because can't express myself, can't express myself. The absolution. It's a precious baby, it's a precious baby. That's what you are. It's a precious baby, it's a precious baby. That's what you. It's a precious baby, it's a precious baby. That's what you are. It's a precious baby, it's a precious baby. That's what you are. The absolution of love. The absolution of love. The absolution of love. The absolution of love.
Hello guys, I'm transitioning. Don't worry, there's the transition between scenes. Hello, I thought I would try to take a moment when that song ended, so I kind of waited to return to give a natural break, but then I messed it up. But that's alright. How are you guys doing after your break? I have fresh coffee, so I'm going to warm up the coffee that I had before that's been sitting here cooling the entire time. And I'm going to just check my mic sound. Words are hard. Okay. Yeah, back from doing stuff. Okay. What we have going on now is, oh yes, a little bit of, like I said, it's last weekend before the election. Next Thursday, people in the UK will go to the polls. Currently, according to recent polling I saw, UKIP in the constituency where Carl is running is projected to get, you can't see that, 0. No seats. 0. Nil point. Based on the polling, they would have gone from getting the most votes, the highest percentage of votes in 2014, to getting like the least in 2019. And UKIP generally is doing poorly, but I think especially in Carl's constituency that they are going to underperform even their national performance. I think he is going to motivate people to get out in order to oppose him. That's how badly I think he's going to do. Nil points. There was a Eurovision, we just all ignored it. You know that techno squidgy, right? Right. Let's go ahead and, so since the happy hour, which you guys know is the only chronological documentary of the Carl Benjamin campaign from his first day, and we'll go right through his last. So a doc, like the happy hour has been the unofficial campaign archive of record, keeping track of every public humiliation, embarrassment, and outrage that we could find on Twitter. Now, of course, it's not complete because it's a Twitter based analysis, but I feel like it's the most complete one out there. And anyone who wants to go back and do a documentary on Carl's entire campaign would have to watch, at least on 2x speed, every moment of the happy hour to get all of the stuff we've captured. But since we had our happy hour, if you remember, Carl had made a pretty big announcement, but in a very odd way. When asked if by the interviewer, Victoria, I can't remember her name now, I'm so bad with names, but anyway, she said, "Can I ask you a personal question?" Carl said yes. She asked, "Have you been raped?" And he replied that he'd been a victim of sexual assault, and then got offended that she'd asked a personal question, which she'd actually just asked, "Can I ask you a personal question?" And he agreed. So, what's odd about it is that he then went on to smile and say, "You didn't think that I'd ever been raped and you thought it was a gotcha movement," which to me seems a slightly odd reaction when you've just told people on national television you were a victim of sexual assault. But I'm just going to leave that out there. I had my piece at the time, which is Carl made a statement, and I can't, until I have more information, I can't do anything with that statement. I won't reject it and say he's a liar, because that's what people used to do pre-Me Too. Before Me Too, everyone, the default was, unless you bring a massive evidence, you're the liar. The change between the pre-Me Too and the Me Too era is that the idea is, well, let's hear what you have to say. Let's see your evidence. When did it take place? Did you tell people at the time? Is there anything else that you could do to corroborate what you've said? Those, we know what the triangulation of these are when people, there's a new normal for the dialogue or the discourse after somebody has made a claim of rape or sexual assault or sexual abuse or sexual harassment or harassment even. Then that was followed up by Carl, as we'll see in the video, although it's going to be difficult to hear, having a debate in the street with a woman who was objecting to his use of rape as a basis of a joke. And Carl, again, seemingly trying to score political points in a debate with someone, brings up that his wife was raped, and she's not offended by his joke because she's a strong person. There's all kinds of problems with that statement, but one of them is this, again, declaring new information and making this allegation of a crime being committed, sexual assault, or in this case, a sexual crime being committed against his wife. I feel like a lot of this part of it is going to blow up after the election just because there's not any space or time for it right now. But these are pretty serious allegations, and I can't imagine that Carl's not going to have to speak to this if he goes on other shows on YouTube, because presumably he thinks he's going to go back to his YouTube life after this. But these are big bombshells, and you can't just sort of drop them and walk away from them and go, "Oh, everyone just accept, listen and believe. I made this statement, you have to believe me." Not using the new criteria of Me Too, which is giving someone the opportunity to make their case instead of dismissing them outright. That is the opportunity, Carl. Now you can come forward in a space where you can present the information and people will evaluate it, as opposed to before when they would dismiss it out of hand. But this channel, I don't really know too much about the person. What they have done, though, is they've put together a clips package, essentially, of videos that we'll probably cover on the happy hour together as we get closer to the election. If we do one last episode, pre-election episode, there's nothing on the books right now. So let's have a look at this.
You didn't get to meet Nigel Farage either, who's an absolute legend, by the way.
All right, so of course we have Carl bragging about his fanboying of Nigel Farage, and of course Farage very shortly, within a few months after this, rejected him like really hard, like he's just not that into you, let it go kind of rejection. I'm less interested in that. I'm more interested in the other clips that we're going to see. So
He's I'm going to admit, I fanboyed. Dankula was just like, you fucking fanboy, man. I was like, I know.
You make of UKIP, who are currently fielding a candidate, Carl Benjamin.
Did you see what... Sorry, I'm going to have to back this up for a couple of reasons, including fair use, but also I just find this incredibly amusing. Watch Nigel Farage's reaction, this eye roll, when they mention the word UKIP.
Who are currently fielding a candidate.
Did you get that? I don't think I can get the stop right.
Are currently
But yeah, it's too late by the time I do it. But he really does do the eye roll, which I find pretty hilarious coming from him. All right, continuing on.
Fielding a candidate, Carl Benjamin, who thinks it's funny to make jokes, supposedly, about raping...
The blurred out picture. The man who's under police investigation.
Discussing political issues. It was part of my life for 25 years.
Well, I really hope they don't do me on a copyright for having the Blue Danube in the background of his music.
Do not let the criminal fringe into the party. Peers, they ignored me. On a personal level, I feel slightly sad.
Yeah, we've seen this bit already. Come on, talk about how vile he is.
The sooner this election's over with and UKIP closes down, the better it will be. It's gone beyond a joke.
Isn't it?
It's
utterly disgusting that this person is even allowed to be putting himself up.
It blows my mind still that Piers Morgan finds it amazing. He finds it just disgusting that Carl is even allowed to stand as a major party candidate. That I still think that's he is a pariah, I think is the word I'm looking for. The Blue Danube is several decades out of copyright, right, but if a certain person makes a version of it, they are allowed to copyright. I think some of their versions of it. But I just find it hilarious that Piers Morgan finds Carl too disgusting to be in the public arena for politics. It tickles me. It tickles my funny bone in a very special way.
Extraordinary. These comments are vile.
Farage actually knew who me and Dankula were, but, that's... Again, I'm so sorry. I state true things, and that's an ego booster.
Oh, Carl. And, of course he'll hold his head up and deny that he's endured a national public humiliation. But the fact is that he is a pariah, except with people who are basically identify themselves as being the worst type of people because they defend and support him. It's pretty easy to figure out. If you want to clear out some crap in your mentions, block everyone who defends Carl Benjamin, because they literally will have nothing of value to contribute to your life if you interact with them. They're not in a place to be normal human beings with, conversing about a topic, their stands. They're not thinking. They're reciting his rhetoric and his talking points.
I've got to stop.
Right, this is new. So this came out, I think, last night. This is Batten just being dragged all over the radio. Like, they're just grabbing him by the scruff of his neck and finding a mud pond or mud puddle and just dragging his ass back and forth. All right, so you guys probably haven't seen this yet unless you've been on Twitter and you're following it very closely as I am. So let's go ahead and have a listen to Batten just be dragged all over the internet for his allying himself with Carl Benjamin.
These are good names, and they're certainly more impressive names than Carl Benjamin. Is some of your decline...
literally anyone is a more impressive name than Carl Benjamin. That's #facts. OUT is in the chat. Hi. James is saying hi. Cog. Good morning, Cog. You're in the chat as well. Carl's fans are completely convinced that he's decimated the BBC in that interview. Of course. I don't know how they figure it exactly, but they are very insistent. They can never admit... Well, no. There are times when they will admit Carl did terribly. They admitted he did terribly, some of them, after my debate with him. There was wide acknowledgement he bombed the Richard Carrier interaction. I think in this case, you have to remember what it is Sargon's fans look for. They're looking for ownage. They're not looking for a good argument. They're not looking for a convincing, irrefutable case to be constructed. They want insults. They want dehumanization. They want petty power plays. And that's what Carl's all about. I mean, and it's all he's got, really. And so when he says something like, your Jess Phillips is being badgered by journalists because I put up something incendiary on the internet. You guys covered it because I crafted it to be so offensive it would have to be noticed. But when you asked her about it, that was you harassing her, not me. Of course it makes no sense. It's like the worst sort of, teenage excuse to get out of personal responsibility for kicking a football through somebody's window. Well, it wasn't my fault. The football got, bounced off the tree, and the tree then sent it toward the window, and that was not my intention. I was, aiming it to go over the branch, and so the tree is ultimately to blame for breaking the window, not me. That would be Carl's reasoning, because he can't take responsibility for his actions. So this is why they keep insisting he won an interview. The fact that they think you can win an interview demonstrates their idiocy. An interview is not a debate. An interview is not a conversation. An interview is someone asks you a question and you put forward your answer. Now, if you want to phrase your answer and frame your answer in a combative way and try to engage your interviewer in order to put them on the back foot, which is what Carl did, you can do that. But you're an idiot because they don't have to play your game. You've just wasted an opportunity to defend yourself by attacking your interviewer. And they aren't interested in defending themselves because they're interested in what you have to say, not engaging with you on that level. If we look at the Andrew Neil interview with Ben Shapiro, Andrew Neil said, look, I often take up positions the opposite of the people I'm interviewing because I want to provoke them into giving a response to that. I don't want to just get up there and give them platitudes and give them a platform to spew their ideas. I want to challenge them. How do you do interviews in America? And the fact is, American interviews are crap. And they do let politicians get away with a lot. Whereas in the British case, they will look for an answer, and they will give you multiple. If you hide and run around your answer, they will try multiple times to, get you to give a straight answer. And if you don't give a straight answer, that is your answer. You can't give a straight answer. So their need to have Carl win demonstrates how pathetic they are, and they know they're losing. If they're looking for ownage over an interview where the interviewer isn't on trial, they are not a conversation partner. They have nothing to justify. Just shows you their intellectual paucity. All right, let's hit play and hear. We're going to watch Batten being dragged, right? Let's watch that.
Line down to the people. I mean, I've listed the people in the Brexit Party. We obviously have to talk about Carl Benjamin.
We have to talk about Carl. Carl's a problem, Gerard. Come on. We all know Carl's the problem child of your party.
Surely you're going to be judged on the people that you associate with and the people you take on board. Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, has been disgraceful.
Yes, he has been disgraceful. He has brought the party into disrepute, which should be grounds to expel him from the party by UKIP's own bylines. And the fact that they haven't, and they can't expel him for bringing the party into disrepute just demonstrate it's non-functioning as a party at this point. Did I see Godwinson's and Porcelain's Carl's videos? Damn. Bronx Beats asks, can I ask, is Godwinson, is that Uzla? Is that Uzla's new channel? I saw the Carl documentary, but I don't think that was on Godwinson's. I thought Godwinson had done a reaction when I looked up the videos. And I did see the new, I would call it a centrist. Like, a centrist by I mean center-right narrative of Carl's career on YouTube. And it's fine in terms of the narrative. They build the story, and obviously, like as with any narrative, you put certain things in and you leave certain things out. But my problem with it, why I can't promote it or share it, is the Sargon documentary, about 45, it's an hour and 45 minutes or something. It's very, very long, but it's filled with slurs. The person who put it together has this trope of anytime he talks about anyone, he introduces them with an insult. So, when he brought up a clip from Kevin, he described him as some kind of blah, 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 potato, soy, whatever. And too many of those insults, or just, a lot of those insults had slurs, some kind of bigoted slur in them. So I watched it, but I won't promote it. And in terms of the Godwinson reaction to it, yeah, that's what I started watching. Of course, the Godwinson reaction to the Sargon documentary is like three parts, and they are about an hour long. Therefore, I didn't say so. Therefore, I have not watched the entire thing as of yet, and I still swear to God that Godwinson's voice sounds exactly like Ursula. So I'm trying to figure out if they are one and the same person. Can someone tell me if that's the case? Because they sound exactly like Ursula. Right, anyway, Carl's disrespectable. He's disgusting, and nobody can understand why Gerard Batten would be bringing him into the party. So let's continue on with a reasonable person asking an edgelord's boss, how do you associate with these morons?
Has he not?
No, I know, but we're talking about of all different kinds. I know because
he's banned from Exeter Cathedral yesterday.
He got banned from a cathedral because of security risks. Because he's just attracts milkshakes to himself now. So they are unlikely. They didn't want to have him in the cathedral because they didn't want milkshake on the floor. He's getting decline. He is the disruptive force that is preventing a lot of hustings from going forward, or people are refusing to participate in hustings and that. Oh, this is really good. Sorry, I just remembered it. It made me laugh. Carl's hustings on the University of West of England Bristol's campus was cancelled because of security concerns. And instead, he went on a debating society's, it went to a debating society on campus, and they broadcast a thing. They called it, I don't even know what they called it, but it was completely ridiculous. We're going to see the picture of it. We're going to see it because it's hilarious. But yeah, I'm sorry, I just remembered that and it made me laugh. All right, we're going to hear this lame defense. Here we go.
Yeah, I have to ask. He's a candidate in the election.
He's a candidate in the election, and he has speculated about whether he would rape
in the
Jess Phillips. He's being investigated by the police. It's just an investigation.
We have lots.
Yeah, and it's being investigated not because he calibrated her for a word that will get me demonetized. I can't say it. He wouldn't even, the video about the wouldn't even though. I can say that. That won't get me demonetized. But he did. He is being investigated not because of the I wouldn't even phrase, it's his use of social media to post and disseminate that message. So again, I went over this last week, and I do have an intention, by the way, to try to find an English law version of how to prosecute the malicious communication sections of 127, the communications law, because we looked at Scotland, and Scotland, of course, is not the area of jurisdiction, although elements of UK law I think would be applied consistently. But yeah, this guy, he is under police investigation because he posted malicious communications to a social media platform to the point of being, producing criminal results, criminal harassment, criminal attention, unnecessarily negative attention. And he's published slanders, trying to slander Jess Phillips as well, which on my Carl Benjamin for MEP channel, I've now documented with text in the body of the video exactly what has been said by Philip Davies, and exactly when Jess Phillips reacts and what she's reacting to, and her statement about what she was reacting to. So it's really time to end this lie. End this lie that Jess Phillips was laughing at male suicides. It's simply, demonstrably not true. And every time Carl says it on his channel, he's committing slander, in my opinion. And she can definitely show damage to her reputation because of him. So I think he's in a bad way. I'm going to hit play here.
The point is, Gerard, that he's let your party down, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. He's let the party down. He's embarrassed the party. He's not even put the party first. He's basically sucking up all of the attention and credibility, if you want to call it that, UKIP has in order to get himself some legitimacy and put himself on the BBC. I mean, I can't even believe this is why Batten is still defending him at this point.
Shouldn't you have done something about it and shown stronger leadership?
Thanks for your comments. Claire says,
Yeah, drag him. Drag him for his lack of leadership. Seriously, Batten's done nothing but bring the party into disrepute. I mean, you could make the case that he's more effective than any left-wing critic has been because of his poor decisions about with whom he is associating. It's phenomenal. Probably the worst party leader in modern history. I mean, like in the last 50 years in Britain. As I said, there's a good case to be made that Batten, in the year of his leadership, has done more damage to UKIP than any other critic or anything else leading up to it before Nigel Farage left the party. All right, going ahead.
this Carl Benjamin interview on your programme today has made me cry. He sounds just like my rapist. Have you been raped?
I've been sexually assaulted.
All right. So this was not followed up in the course of the interview. Carl, to my knowledge, and people please correct me if I'm wrong, he's not mentioned this since, not given any more information, not giving any more context. He's just said it happened. I don't know what he means by, I think, did he say sexually assaulted? Let me just confirm his phrase.
It's made me cry. He sounds just like my rapist. Have you been raped?
I've been sexually assaulted.
Okay. Now, as you guys might know, sexual assault is a very broad term. And it covers everything from, fourth degree sexual assault, which is grabbing someone's butt, or at least in the laws of my state, Wisconsin, if you had, gone out, if some guy came up to you and grabbed your butt, that's fourth degree sexual assault. All the way up to criminal, including violence, not just grabbing something from outside the clothing, but actual physical violence and maybe penetration or something else could be considered sexual assault. And without more information, I don't know where Carl's experience falls on that spectrum. And this is part of the reason why, I'm not going to say I think he's lying or I think he's telling the truth. I don't have enough information to know. All I know is that he has made a claim. I don't know anything else beyond that. I don't know if it was, more like a fourth degree sexual assault situation. Is he talking about being at a conference and, someone came up and slid their hand up by his thigh, kind of a sexual assault level? Or are we talking about something, more, profoundly traumatizing and violent? I don't want the details for the purposes of having details. I just don't know where to classify this phrase sexual assault. It covers a lot of ground. So I want to hear more. It'll be interesting to see what Carl says after this, because he's then gone on not only to, in this case, pull out this information and drop it, and then never picking it up again, which again I think is weird, but we're going to see in a few seconds he is also quite happy to use other people's sexual assaults in order to score political points. So here we go.
Let's hope nobody you love it. Shocking. Well then why are you joking about rape?
Okay, did you guys catch that? So what's happening is, and I've got a longer version of this without Untertitel, without subtitles on my Twitter. It was too long last night to try to figure out what every person was saying. There's a lot of wind noise in this video, and I tried to, in my own app that I have on my tablet, I tried to clear out the wind noise, but then it becomes very robot-y, so I had to layer on the robot-y cleared out wind noise at 100% and then bring up the actual original video to about 50 or 60%, so there was some noise, so it didn't sound crazy. Anyway, I tried to layer on the audio to improve it, but it was a lot of work, so I didn't do the subtitles. Anyway, what the conversation appears to be is about the joke itself, and Carl's making the claim here that his wife laughs at the joke. His wife has also been raped. Therefore, the fact that she can laugh at his joke, which apparently wasn't a rape joke, dang it, now I'm going to be demonetized. It wasn't the joke about that. It was an anti-sexual assault joke that he was going for. So again, Carl, wants to have it both ways, but he makes a point to this woman, trying to discredit her point, that because of his wife and her experience, she can laugh at it. She's not weak, therefore she's apparently better than other victims who don't find it funny and don't laugh at it.
Let's hope nobody you love and nobody rapes, because it's shocking. Shocking. Well, then why are you joking about rape?
Alright, and then I think at this point,
Honestly,
we've seen most of the other things in here already, so I'll just kind of scroll forward. Oh, right. And then I wanted to just crap on Jonathan Pie, because Jonathan Pie, a year ago, was told that people like Dankula and Carl and Paul Joseph Watson joining UKIP were scum, that they were bigots, that they were intolerant, that they were misogynist, that there was very little in the way of redemption about their content, and very little redeeming about what they put out. And he took, correct me if I'm wrong, my recollection is Pie jumped on the whole, like Ricky Gervais saluting dogs are cover for calls for genocide in video content. If you say it's a joke and you put a dog in it, then you can say whatever you want about killing people, and it should just be a joke. So in some ways, F you, Jonathan Pie, because here's the thing. He's now gotten to the point, having the same view, that we were trying to tell him he needed to have a year ago. When he was defending Dankula, he should have been saying this. But now, when it's gotten out of hand, and it's gotten too late, and Carl Benjamin's on a platform, and he's already on the ballot, now you figure out he's a POS, and he needs to be condemned? A week before the election, Jonathan? You need to pay attention to what people are saying, and not just think that we are being, contrarian for the sake of it. These people are dangerous. And you and your defense of free speech in terms of jokes, you realize now that this is not a joke. This is hate and bullying that people without empathy laugh at the suffering of others. So I'm just like, I have no time. I have no time for you and your centrism, Jonathan Pie. But at least 18 months after it was too late, you finally got to the place where we were telling you needed to be a year and a half ago. So let's hear Jonathan.
Posting internet edgelords whose idea of political discourse is to joke about maybe raping their opponents. Classy.
Yeah, you know what? This is it, Jonathan. Carl joined UKIP and had already had form on this ages ago. Dankula defended this use of sexual violence against women politicians, when you were defending him. So I'm not going to applaud you now for being a big boy and pulling up your big boy pants and taking a stand against obvious hate.
Now, if you're still thinking of voting UKIP, I fundamentally think you're a cunt. There you go, I've said it.
Yeah, and a year and a half too late. You said it. What do you want? Applause? GTFO, Emma. Whatever. I am like, no. You don't get credit for taking up a view that you should have had a year and a half ago. Sorry, this is Christy's little rant. Because I guess apparently I have some pent-up anger at Pie that's coming out right now.
Finally. So thank you, Wank Lord of Aragon, or whatever you call yourself, for clearing that one up.
Yeah. Again, Dank Lore of Aragon. I mean, both of these guys are wankers. Pie. But you and your apparently co-author or co-writer from Spiked just thought they were being edgy. And this is what edginess gets you when you just wink and nod at it. Edginess that's actually fascism. When you wink and nod at it, what you end up with are crypto and proto-fascists who are entering politics. And by the time they're already getting supporters and they're in the streets, kind of a little bit too late. Genie's out of the bottle. Now they've got parties that are legitimizing them. Anyway.
I'll still achieve more by failing than you'll achieve by doing nothing.
I have to say, I gotta say, on this one thing, Carl is absolutely right. He has definitely done more by failing than Medicare has accomplished in 2019. Medicare, probably for his entire contribution on the internet, has never managed to bring down a far-right party. But Carl Benjamin has. Carl Benjamin has managed to help. I mean, he obviously wasn't just driven by him. Batten has been driving this downward trend since he started attracting or accepting people like Milo, like Dankula, like Paul Joseph Watson and Carl into the party. As soon as he, in an atheistic way, sold his soul, made his Faustian pact with the YouTube edgelords, the party's been drifting rightwards. At the same time, it's been drifting downwards in the poll. But Carl has really been, it's like the nail in the coffin. He is the one who is really going to bring the L for the team. He's grabbed that L and he's like, no, hand it to you. Like, hold my beer. I'm going to get us across the finish line at almost 0%. Just put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I can get us to like a complete washout compared to last time. And it will be one for the history books. There will be an asterisk next to the UKIP 2014-2019 results in British political history books that document European elections going forward. That UKIP managed to go from 24 seats, 27% of the vote, and go down to 0 seats. That is noteworthy in the annals of right-wing British political failures. But that I think is pretty much the end of it. Oh, there's a little bit more pie. Okay, we'll watch to see if he has anything more interesting to say.
I know I'm massively egotistical there. I'm just saying things that are true.
Yeah, it is true that you are massively egotistical and you're a massive failure, Carl. I really, how do you guys feel? Should we try to get Carl on the happy hour? Can I poll the chat? Because I'm in two minds about it. It's the same problem you always have when you want to platform an edgelord. On the one hand, you don't want to give them an opportunity to spread their BS. On the other, I have so many questions for Carl. And now, especially, having interacted with him twice in a non-structured debate form kind of way, knowing all of his tricks, I would definitely feel more confident just playing with him like a cat does with a mouse, because I've seen he doesn't have a lot of tools in his tool bag or toolbox when it comes to dealing with questions. He has asking a question back. He has trying to change the subject, and then he has talking over you so you can't be heard. But if you just focus on one thing, come back to it, don't let him be distracting, don't take his bait, and just really try to nail him down on something, it's not that you're going to get a clear answer from Carl, but what you will make him do is, scurry around and demonstrate he is incapable of providing an answer. So I would, people are okay. Pie gives you indigestion. Very nicely done, Robert. Yeah, all right, I'm seeing some positive stuff. I don't know that we can get... Well, here's the thing. I don't know if we can definitely get him on the happy hour because he might not want to face us after... I mean, there was the first show was really a public humiliation. The second one had a little less energy because I was shaking my head, and of course that doesn't come across on camera when I should have been laughing. So there'd be a lot more laughter in a third Sargon appearance on the happy hour. But of course, whenever Kevin asks him, he wants the D. He loves Kevin. He's just he needs Kevin to validate him for some reason. He's got this crush on him. He just keeps coming back, and he can't quit him. Sargon just can't quit you, Kevin. And as a consequence, I think we could actually get him maybe to say yes if it was on Kevin's channel. Because I have so many questions I want to ask him. All right, let's finish out the rest of this clips package video.
Well, as you can see, it's a crowded field with Nigel Farage's Brexit party taking a decisive lead.
All right, that wasn't very exciting. Just that Brexit party's name. Oh, and this is definitely going to get me some copyright. There's a song that's played now over a bunch of, black and white clips to make it look like I don't know whatever it is, and embarrassing moments in Carl's life that we don't need to see. All right. Okay, guys, I'm going to have a look at the chat now because I'm running out of stuff. So I'm gonna make you guys entertain me for a little while. What do we got here? Yeah, I think I can probably even switch windows. I can be a little bit bigger. That's what he said. Right. So that's, here we go. Yeah. Oh no, that's me small. This is a weird window here, the way that it is right now. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger and me a bit bigger. Just because it's, yeah. There's one thing else I have to do. Sorry. I have to figure out, yes, the video display capture has to be higher ranking than the background. Now, I am faded in. Hello. What do you guys have to say? I think it would be entertaining, but I have ethical issues with you platforming him. Yeah, I know, that's the dilemma, isn't it? That's the, you know, on the one hand, you do want to mock him and have and enjoy that, ask questions that you know are no one else would put his feet to the fire on. On the other hand, you know, you're platforming him. Then again, I think platforming him on the happy hour is probably one of the safer places to platform Carl, because the audience is entirely aggressive against him. No one in the happy hour audience is going to be swayed by him. They're only going to be there for their amusement. So I think, and what do we get? 2,000 views? And so I don't really know if an anti-platforming argument is really all that powerful, considering our very small reach and the fact that our audience would be there just to laugh at him. Alright, Carl can go on Dataport Doll's channel if you want. Butler singing Please Don't Go by Chicago. I don't know what you guys, it seems like a second half of conversation. What difference does it make whether or not Carl was a victim himself? Well, in terms of like his comments about Jess Phillips, it is not connected at all. I think the reporter was trying to get at, if you yourself were a victim, don't you have some empathy for the impact your words would have on other victims who are going through a very emotionally trying time? And whenever you have a trauma in your life, you, for a period of time, become emotionally vulnerable. You've become emotionally raw. You are grieving. You're in pain, and mentioning things or certain reminders bring you back to that pain. And I think that the point of it was to see whether or not he could have empathy for other victims of sexual assault, or the R word that I can't say because I'll get demonetized. And the fact is, if you accept, you know, if you just take that statement, what Carl's saying is that I'm a victim and also I'm incapable of having empathy for the people who are also victims, is what it ended up being. I think Carl is unique in that he's so incompetent. He cannot capitalize on these platforms like Tommy or even a Dankula. Yeah, I agree. I you know, someone like a Richard Spencer could come on board and make what seems to be a coherent argument, but in the case of Carl, platforming him is just giving him another chance to put his foot in his mouth. He's so cringy. Yeah, he's very cringy. If you don't like stirs, how do you do the happy hour with Kev on the stream? Well, there's a difference between poking fun at people and using racist slurs and using homophobic slurs. Calling people a slur is different from poking fun at someone. I don't think we don't use slurs unless we're like referring to something someone else said in reference to it, but we don't use slurs on the happy hour. He's been platformed by the national media and it ruined him. Yeah, that's true. The more he was exposed. What's particularly interesting is that the people who you would think would be the demographic for voting UKIP, which is older in English, older and English people. I don't want to say that all older and English people would vote for UKIP, because they vote for a lot of other parties as well, the senior demographic, residing in England. But the most likely demographic to vote for UKIP is senior and living in England. As a consequence, you know, it's just hilarious to me that Carl is driving away the demographic that's most likely to vote for him, and it's not blue-haired feminists on campus. It's senior citizens and, you know, people who are just normies coming out to oppose him, which I think is fantastic and really gives me hope for Britain. Oh, yes. There's a difference between poking fun and just using slurs. I think we do a bantering critique, and we critique people's ideas and their actions, but we don't reduce them to slurs. Data Portal says, I'm convinced in Carl's head he was saying, well, if feminists can define sexual assault however they want, a fat girl touched my butt at the school dance. I think that's my impression too. That's literally what I am sort of suspicious of at this point, that Carl, when pressed, will use something like, someone grabbed my butt, therefore I was sexually assaulted. Which is not an untrue statement, but certainly when he was asked the R word on air, and he replied with that, it made it appear equivalent, and I don't know that it was. So again, I'm withholding judgment, because I don't have enough information beyond that statement to come to a conclusion. All I can acknowledge is that he made that statement. Soy-filled GIMP. I think in terms of the GIMP, that's I can't. That was Kevin, first of all, and it was milk-fed GIMP, not soy-filled. And I think also, GIMP, to what I know, is like a sexual thing, so it's not a slur. But yeah, milk-fed GIMP. I heard somewhere that was actually first mentioned on Black Books. Maybe it was lodged into Kevin's subconscious somewhere, Bernard or Manny. I can't imagine Manny saying that, though. What do you think Carl will say about Milo's endorsement of violent revolution on Gab? Has he commented on it yet? I've not seen it. I don't tend to watch Carl's actual content, although if you watch it now, it won't make him money. So that makes me feel better. And the occasional times that I have to go on his channel and look at the content he's put up and watch a few minutes of it, I do it with a smile on my face now because I'm not paying for it. I have premium, so everything I watch gets ad revenue. I can't turn on and turn off ad blocker anymore. It's just, it is what it is. I have to pay for every video I watch. And knowing that I'm no longer funding Carl's videos when I click on them, oh, it's such a nice feeling. You should have Carl on only because if goes, you might be able to edge your way into some form of national media in that spectacle. I don't care about that. Yeah, I don't. At this point, I would do it for you guys. I don't really. I mean, Carl's going to be so done on the national stage after this election. People are just not going to pay attention. They won't have a requirement to treat him like a serious person once he's no longer a candidate for office. And that's what he's using this time. He's using the credibility of political campaigning to promote himself and his channel, his content. And so I don't think we'll get any national media after he's run. I think people are ready to turn their backs and walk away on the I wouldn't even guy going forward. Yada yada yada. Carl has painted himself so deep into the corner, there's very little anymore he can say without looking a hypocrite. Agreed. Don't forget, soy milkshakes are good for vegans. Hashtag good for vegans. You and Kev were way more insulting than slurs. Well, this is it. A slur is pretty brainless way to insult someone. A slur is completely unoriginal as a put down. It is... How should I say this? I mean, obviously, it's demeaning and dehumanizing. I don't want to put it that way. But if you're going to insult someone, the way that you really make an impact with an insult is by phrasing it in such a way or constructing it in such a way that it manages with a few words to really get at a weak spot that somebody has and just puts a spotlight on it and ideally mocks it. That's, in my opinion, like the best insult, is to be able to see something very clearly and do a put down. And I'm not saying this is a brilliant one, but earlier today on Twitter, Tim Pool had posted a tweet complaining that the BBC interview Carl did wasn't a good conversation. And because the interviewer wasn't, making points back or defending herself from Carl's critiques. And I just wrote on that, your journalist, I'm a journalist, journalist con is exposed when you can't tell that, or you don't know that an interview is not a debate. That's the kind of insults I'm looking for. It's like the really cutting ones. And slurs are just boring. They're repetitive, and they show no originality. So I have way more time for a creative troll who says something creatively insulting about me than one who just says fisty. And that's just going to get you blocked. If you make me laugh, I won't block you. But if you're obviously a waste of my time. So anyway, that's the Christy Winters opinion on how to do an insult. Go for something original, personal, and publicly humiliating. We will hear of Carl again when he goes down. Yes, we won't be doing, by the way, I should say I will announce here as we come to the last 8 minutes of the show. I see. Or no, we've been going a little while. I'm going to need another break, you guys. So I might have to take a quick 5-minute break and top up my coffee here. But the election night show is going to be probably just a regular happy hour now. The European elections are held over 3 days, like from Thursday to the Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe 4 days. They come, the results, I don't know exactly how all of the results will be brought in, whatever else. So as a consequence, we're trying to find a time where Cog from the Cognitive Society, Vadim Newquist, wants to join and have a little talk about election results in Carl's constituency, and of course myself and Kevin. So it looks more like it'll be taking place after the results in more of a retrospective. Maybe in that way I can go back through the happy hours and do highlights. Maybe it could be a highlights. I'm just coming up with this on the fly. Maybe it could be a highlight show where we get, like, from the Steve Shives hangout, some moments, and we find some old clips, and we go back over the campaign that was. That sounds like a good idea. All right, yeah, I'm just going to need to take a break, and in which case, if we take a break now, I'll go till 10 after the hour. So, tell you what, guys, just give me 5 minutes. We'll have a quick break. I will stretch my legs, because I am, like, they're going numb. I can't feel my toes. I've been sitting, you can't really see, but I've been sitting cross-legged this whole time. I can't feel my toes anymore. And we'll come back for the last 20 minutes of the show. So, see you guys all in 5.
Elections ahead, it's only been lonely. I feel so lonely. I decide to rain. The grains on my head is sad to fade away. I hear you quite slowly, distracts my head. It's a girl in the middle of the nothingness. And you tell me why to all do the truth, and I spend 3 days playing with you. And you disappear. You tell me why to alter the truth, and I spent 3 days spending with you. And you disappear, you burn on my eyes. So that's why I remember I'm alive. You tell me why to alter the truth, and I spent 3 days spending with you. And you disappear.
And I'm back, sort of. Still setting up. I should have done this before I went on air. Sorry. Gotta concentrate against the clock. A race, got no time to waste. I'm already late. I got a marathoner's pace. Right. That's a little shout out for you M fans in the audience. Yeah, I think I've got everything here I need. Last few minutes of the show. So, while I was gone, getting coffee, I thought about what people were saying in the chat about the election night show. And someone said something about don't do 3 hours of blah, blah, blah. But what maybe I can do, or what we should do, is to get each of us to do our top 5 moments of the campaign. That could be a good election night show, especially if we coordinate it to make sure that people haven't doubled up on moments. And then we'd have 20 moments. You know, we'd go with 4 of us around the table, in the internet table, and in the internet table, round table, we would share our clips, which I could have set up ahead of time because we would have all organized it so that it looked like it was spontaneous, but it was actually entirely planned. So, yeah, maybe we can do that. Christy Winters and chat. What do we all think about Steve Shives? I love Steve Shives. He's awesome. Yeah. That's it. I stand for Steve. Hashtag stand for Steve. Right. Shoe. Yeah, what is... I don't even pay attention. Like, I haven't heard... For me, Shoe on Head and Armored Skeptics stopped being relevant a long time ago. In my opinion. You know, I guess they still have their audiences, but they're not... Are they still making opinions? Are they still influencers in that way? You know, or outside of their own audience? Are they growing? Haven't really heard. Okay. Now, you know what, I'd said in the last section, we would go an extra, 10 minutes, because I had multiple breaks today, multiple coffee breaks. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have anything to talk with you guys about, so we're going to have to do something in the chat. I feel bad, although it'll make doing the excerpts, I'm going to try to do more excerpts from the Weekend Winters. And substantively, I only really have the Screwface Gene video this time, I think, and the Carl video. The rest of it's just been us talking in the chat, which is great if you're live, but honestly, if you're watching it afterwards, it's boring AF to watch people talk to a chat. I mean, it is what it is, but... What do you guys have? Shu claimed to be a social democrat. Not sure how legit that is. I never engaged with her content. Oh, please. Shoe on Head is not a social democrat. I'm sure that was ironic. Alright. Then, you guys aren't helping in the chat at all. You guys are useless. You're giving me nothing. I'm gonna have to figure out something way more entertaining than what you are giving me to work with here. So let's do a quick... Move this over. Move the chat over. Failing me, chat. You're failing me. Should we go quickly over to PragerU? I'm going to find the shortest PragerU video they have. Go on. And don't start talking. We definitely don't want to hear your voice. I don't even know who it was. Don't even care. It's not worth listening to. Okay. Yada yada yada. Let's have a look at the playlist, people. And we're gonna do this democratically. Latest 5-minute videos. Okay, we're not gonna do that democratically. We're gonna go to the latest 5-minute videos. Why don't you support Israel? Alright, let's see what the list is here. Can I just see the playlist? View the playlist? Desktop audio is turned off, so you guys are protected from whatever's come up here. Are these the 5-minute videos? I got a little bit lost. Right. View full playlist. YouTube. Why God is a He? Can we do that one, you guys? Should we do Why God is a He? That sounds hilarious. That to me, as a feminist critic of masculine theology, the masculine assumption or masculine normativity in theology, I think this one will be entertaining. So let's do it. Okay. I'm excited now. This will be the last bit of the show. Can't wait to hear why God is a he. I wonder if it'll be by Jordan Peterson. Would Jordan Peterson come on and tell us that the masculine is order? Because men with power decided that masculine is order? Because, you know, God is a social construct. Just like everything. Okay. Now, before I can start, I'm going to have to turn on the volume and my desktop audio. Otherwise, only I will hear what they're saying. And while that will be pleasant for you, be more pleasant, it won't be... Can you guys see? Yep, I'm going to make sure I'm broadcasting my anti-Sargonism bit. It might be more pleasant for you, but it'll make much less sense in the long run. Oh, hold on. I'm going to switch windows. Check it. Look how big I am compared to the rest of the show. Why God is a he. This is going to be hilarious. All right, let me learn a little bit about this before we start. I'm actually a little bit excited. Let's see what they have to say. All right. Is God a man, a woman, or a genderless force that cannot be identified by masculine or feminine traits? Society offers a range of ideas, but what do religious texts have to say about these immutable characteristic of God? Really? They are putting God in a box now. Here, we're going to put you in the penis box, God. And once you're in the penis box, that's immutable. Yeah, that penis box, you can't get out of it. You're stuck in the penis box. All right. This video is going to get demonetized too. All right. I'm too grown up. We have too many grown up themes for me to make any money on YouTube. Right. Are you guys ready for this? Are you excited? Come on. I'm excited. All right. Here we go.
One of the criticisms many people make against the Bible is that it depicts God in male terms.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't disagree. I would question the idea many. I think it's actually not debated enough whether the assumptions and the normativity that we have associated with masculinity is an appropriate concept to impute upon another concept, which is the concept of God, another social construct, as we said. So again, I'm just going to call him out like I see him. We'll do a little bit of discourse analysis. So obviously in terms of politics and what's presented as good, we're going to see some bias here. We'll also look for the construction of identities and things that are significant and non-significant, if I remember.
The most obvious example is God is referred to as he. Why did the Bible do this?
Well, okay, first of all, the Bible didn't do anything. The Bible is a collection of other people's writings. So the Bible can't think. The Bible can't act any more than a garbage pan or a garbage pail or a garbage bin, right? You just put stuff in it, but the garbage itself doesn't have agency. These are really basic things. This is really basic in terms of like just thinking through. All right, going on.
Well, here's the answer. Because the Bible is preoccupied with making a kinder, less violent, more just world.
Again, the Bible doesn't do anything. The people who were writing didn't know that they were writing for the Bible. If you go back and you look at Genesis, it's actually a combination, which is the earliest writing we have in the Hebrew Scriptures. And I tend to, by the way, differentiate between the Hebrew Scriptures and the Christian Scriptures. I don't call them the Old Testament and the New Testament because that's privileging Christianity in a way it doesn't deserve. So the Hebrew writings, the Hebrew Scriptures, the Christian writings, the Christian Scriptures. Christians' writings is more general, like that would include theological texts, but Scriptures in particular, I mean the holy texts. Genesis is a combination of two stories. One story, one version of the story, describes Yahweh as its main character, and it has its own independent narrative that's been interwoven with a second story where Elohim, another word for God, is the main character. And historians date these back to when there were two main sort of Hebrew kingdoms Judah and another one, Israel, maybe. And they had independent areas and sort of like different ways of organizing their politics, and they had two different versions of the same creation story. And later authors, when one of the kingdoms ended up disappearing, I think this was when it's been a while since I've had all this to hand. It's like back in my Karen Armstrong, The History of God video days. But one of the tribes was completely destroyed, and a lot of refugees, historians sort of estimate based on the time period when these were written, came into the kingdom that survived, and they brought their Elohim story into the Yahweh community, or vice versa. But I think it was Elohim into Yahweh, if I'm remembering this correctly. And rather than choose between the two, a redactor interwove the two creation narratives into one story in Genesis. That's why there's two creation narratives. If you go through and you read the J version, it stands on its own. If you go through and you read the E version, it stands on their own. And there's a lot of repetition. That's why they have two different orders in which God creates things. That's why in one version it says male and female he created them. And in the other version, Eve is, created out of a rib. They're two different stories. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all of this, this is going to take forever. All right, hitting play. But he's wrong. He's just wrong, by the way. That was my point.
If you share these goals, and I suspect you do, then you'll have to agree the Bible made the right decision.
Well, okay, so just I have to say, this idea that the Bible is out, what was he saying he was trying to make? God, oh shoot, now I have to go back. There we go.
The Bible is preoccupied with making a kinder, less violent, more just world.
That's not true. That's simply empirically not true. If you study the Hebrew scriptures, they were interested in, let's say, regulating their society, their own internal relations. But in terms of the world, making the world kinder, less violent, and more just no. No, there's a justification for tons of violence in the Hebrew scriptures. There's lots of stuff about loving your neighbor. If someone shares a faith, you're meant to be nice to them. But there's not a huge amount in terms of saying be tolerant to people of other religions. Not a lot of that in the Bible. There's not a lot of that. Oh, don't worry about blasphemy. I'm a god. I can handle a little bit of criticism. There's not a lot of that in the Bible. More just. Where is rape in the Ten Commandments? See, can't get away from this topic today. But where is the thou shalt not sexually assault anybody? No, it's not interested in making society kinder, less violent, or more just. What it is concerned about is orthodoxy of belief. Less so in the Jewish scriptures. There's a lot more room, a lot more scope for a personal take on Yahweh and God. You've got the Reform Jewish divisions and Orthodox, whatever else. They don't seem to want to kill each other off as much as Christians and Muslims kill off people they consider heretics. So again, he can say that, but that's not true.
Just world. If you share these goals, and I suspect you do, then you'll have to agree the Bible made the right decision. Before I explain, however, I need to add an obvious caveat.
All right.
The God of the Bible is neither male nor female.
And did you check by looking under their trousers? I don't know how you can make this declaration unless you're gonna check. Maybe God's intersexed. How do you know? Have you looked? Have you checked? I know. I love it when these less than perfectly aware of the limitations of their own knowledge white guys make pronouncements on something they can't see. That's like saying unicorns are definitely their manes. Is that what horses have? I'm not a horse person. They're always white. They're always silvery white. Unicorns always have silvery white manes. That's just the rule. That to me, it makes as much sense as saying you can declare what God's sex/gender is. But all right, show me. Yes, we want to see the genitals. I demand proof. I'm from Missouri. Show me. And by the way, boycott Missouri and Alabama and any other state that treats women like property when it comes to abortion rights. I think we need a nationwide ban, boycott of all of those states. No Coca-Cola products, no nothing that comes out of them. Just boycott, boycott, boycott. But anyway, getting back to how Prager knows what's under the towel around God's waist.
God transcends gender.
All right. So if your God transcends gender, then by using a masculine pronoun, you're actually limiting God and giving a false impression of what the true state that you have made up of your made up being.
What I'm talking about here is why God is depicted in male terms in the Bible. Gender-wise, the Bible had 3 choices: masculine, he; feminine, she; or neuter, it.
In English, yeah. I guess I don't really know what the Hebrew gendered pronoun system is like. So, for instance, some words in German, they're masculine, neuter, or feminine, and when you use a personal pronoun, like the computer is der Computer. I mean, it can also be das Computer, but let's say it's der Computer. Then you would say, instead of saying, when you're referring to your computer as an it, you would say he. Like, my computer isn't working, he needs an update. Right? I don't know if ancient Hebrew had something similar in terms of describing God. But anyway, let's go on. Yeah, and as Tufity points out, there's also the plural. You're right, there is they. They missed out of that in the PragerU video. Well spotted.
We can readily rule out neuter. For one thing...
Why? You just said that your being transcends masculine and feminine. So why would we rule out the one category that could actually both encapsulate both, but also not be one or the other? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see.
Neuter nouns don't exist in Hebrew.
Oh, but maybe there was a... Oh, okay. So, but why did you offer that as an option then? If it's like French and it only has masculine and feminine, why did you put the neuter up there? In German, you do have the 3 cases. You have feminine, masculine, and neuter. So, why? Right. Here's the thing, though. If in English, it could be it. In English, we do have neuter nouns. So we could take the false dichotomy of a masculine-feminine structure that's inherent in the Hebrew and transcend it by using it in English, because we're translating it. And translation means to get the idea. It doesn't mean a word for word, unterstützen, a translation of every single word in the order it's presented.
The language of the Old Testament, which after all, first introduced this God to us. For another, the biblical God is a personal God.
Right. Okay, but that doesn't mean that a personal God has to have a masculine or a feminine or a neuter gender. It could be genderless. So you don't have to have an interaction. You don't need to be on the spectrum of, where you are in your sexuality to have a personal relationship, especially since if you think about it, what are the real defining characteristics physiologically? The differences. What you're saying is when you say he, that God has a penis. So if God doesn't have a penis, you don't have to create the impression that he does by using a false, the wrong pronoun. But anyway.
To whom we can and must relate.
Must relate? Geez, there's an imperative that, why? Why? Why must we? We don't know. You say that, but that's not true. That's just that's just your opinion, man.
And we cannot relate to, let alone obey or love, an it.
No, I doesn't follow. Given, especially, that he's already conceded his God isn't it. He's then, by his logic, actually, the fact that his notion of God is genderless, he's just said he can't have a personal relationship with that being. So what his solution apparently is that you have to pretend that God is a man in order to have a relationship with God. That doesn't seem very honest, does it? I mean, that seems like a big old lie. That seems like made up. But that's just me, and I'm right. So.
Aside from the language issue, the Bible depicts God in masculine terms because, 1, the Hebrew Bible's primary concern is making a good world.
No, it's not! No, it's not. Have you read the Hebrew scriptures? It's a history. It's a law book. It's a collection of proverbs aimed at young men because girls were considered property. I really can't accept that the purpose of the Bible was to make a good world when the entire structure of the Bible from start to finish denies women as full human beings. So you're just not going to get... So basically saying they only had she and he to choose from. They didn't have it. One, I don't even know if I believe that, to be honest. He can say that, but why would I believe Dennis Prager on any of that? I'd like to hear from a Hebrew expert if there's really no way of saying it in Hebrew. Second, so even if they had in Hebrew an inability to have a neuter pronoun or a neutral noun, we don't have that problem in English. There's no reason we should have to be stuck in the framework of what the Hebrews wrote when we have options they didn't. So again, okay, let's continue.
2, a good world can only...
I understand you can be a man without having a penis, but in this case, it is the patriarchy and it is the penis, sort of, that is the biological sort of justification for superiority. Right? So I'm not talking about trans men in this case. I'm talking about a really patriarchal sort of, biblical view of masculine, feminine and what defined it. So yeah, I take on your point, but yeah, and anyone can be a dick. You don't need a penis to be a dick. Very true. But you understand what I'm meaning in terms of, especially like with the role of cis men being dominant and even excluding the concept of trans men and women. So that's where I am with this. Being simplistic, but yeah, asterisk noted.
Only be achieved by making good people. And 3, the people who commit nearly all the world's violence are males. Therefore...
What? Wait. Wow, this is... Okay, I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying it's a really random point. And I think is he going to make the argument that because men commit violence, unless God is also presented as a man, they won't respect him? Is this... I mean, that's... Oof. All right. Yeah, I agree that men commit most violence, but I don't see that. I just don't see how...
It is in both men's and women's interests to depict God in the masculine.
Okay, so men beat on men beat on women, and because men are the most likely to be violent, we have to have God be a man. I'm stunned.
Are males.
Like, I don't understand this line of reasoning whatsoever. This is a real problem with the is-ought distinction and Hume. We're saying because empirically, just follow my reasoning, because empirically men commit more violence, therefore we have to talk about God as a he. One is an is, the other is an ought. Nothing connects these two. But let's see what Prager pulls out of his butt to connect them.
Therefore, it is in both men's and women's interests to depict God in the masculine. Here's why. Without a father or some other male rule giver, young men are likely to do great harm.
All right, because men are violent, we have to privilege masculine pronouns. Also, how misandrist? Can I just point out, he's assuming that unless men have some sort of alpha to keep them in line, they're inherently violent, they're inherently rapists, they're inherently thieves, they're inherently bad. I don't think men are born bad. I don't. I think boys are socialized to repress their emotions, to not have a space to explore and give a name to what they're going through a lot of times. Men have a lot of emotions inside of them. They just don't have the language to describe what they're going through because they've been denied conversations about what they're going through with their peers. So this is basically saying men need violent rule because men are violent. I don't get this misandry. I really don't. And they say feminists hate men. Nobody hates men more than conservative, fundamentalist, religious men. They are the most self-hating group. Maybe with the exception of men who are closeted who hate on gay men because they're, engaging in self-hate.
If there is no male authority figure to give a growing boy rules, it is very difficult for him to control his wilder impulses.
Holy cow, he has no respect for men. Wow. And this also explains why, so women are inadequate in his worldview. Women are, incapable of raising children, and boys need violence. Boys need violence and intimidation, threat, in order to be put in their place. That's what Dennis Prager thinks. This is terrifying. If this is your approach, you see a little boy and this is your view, that's a dangerous monster. What he really needs is, a threatening, violent male figure to keep him in line. Otherwise, he's going to go around stealing and robbing and burning things down. I don't see that when I see little boys. I see the opportunity to raise men who are emotionally healthy, who can express themselves, who want to be fathers and be active participants, and also have a society that supports them in whatever roles they decide to take on, whether that's being in a gay partnership and being single, or having kids or not having kids, to give men the full range of their, of roles and things that they want to do with their lives, and not just assume that they're basically criminals waiting to happen.
As President Barack Obama told an audience in 2008, children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison.
Right, but that means having a father involved in their life. So what are we doing in your world, Dennis Prager, to prepare dads to be emotionally available, emotionally mature and settled, to be there to support their children as fathers, not only in terms of providing a roof and contributing toward the family's household, but in being a good male role model in terms of having a healthy relationship with women, in this case, or with other men if they're a gay couple. I mean, we're pretending as if men's only role, it's in marriage or they don't exist. But men can be active in their kids' lives if they themselves are in a good place and can model good behavior, and not bringing up the issue that some men just kind of, I get it. Like when couples break up, there are dads who miss their kids. There are also dads who don't miss their kids. So I'm going to say it's about society, and the society of men we're producing. Are they, you're not going to get to be a good dad by thinking that your son is basically a criminal in waiting.
Commenting on that speech, Dr. Alvin Poussant, a psychiatrist with Harvard Medical School.
I'm just going to, we can't believe anything Dennis Prager says, so obviously don't treat this as an expert opinion, and I'm sure he's misquoting Obama too. This guy just lies.
Confirmed these statistics.
Oh, an appeal to authority. Here's a magic guy from Harvard.
The absence of fathers corresponds with a host of social ills, including dropping out of school and serving time in jail.
So how do we get dads to be emotionally in a place to be better fathers, have a better relationship with the mothers? It's not by making God into a he in the Bible. This is like making God... I don't know where this is going. We've gone off of why is God a he into some sort of weird tangent where men are both evil, and they're meant to be emotionally, to put younger men in their place because men are criminals, and also, to talk about their absence. All right, so here we go.
In other words, if one's primary goal is a good world, specifically a world with far less murder, child abuse, theft, and rape.
All right, well, you're okay. So men, he's just saying, are evil. He is. This is again. This is not about a society that produces men who are ill-equipped to deal with things like anger, and it leads to murder, or have untreated issues that lead to a pattern of becoming sexual predators, whatever. No, it's just that men are bad, y'all.
A God depicted in masculine terms, a father in heaven.
He's saying that Dennis, no, don't say that we need the sky daddy because real daddies don't exist. Because it looks just as like I thought. If you were right, and a sky daddy being a he was enough, then absent fathers wouldn't be an issue. You get that? Absent fathers wouldn't be an issue if just having God as a masculine was enough. I accidentally touched something here on the screen, and now it's going all crazy. I can't. Oh, there we got back.
A world with far less murder, child abuse, theft,
I
and
can't
rape.
even believe this.
A God depicted in masculine terms, a father in heaven, not a goddess, a mother in
No,
heaven.
because you know why? Because men don't respect women. You know why? Because we have a society that taught men not to respect women. So instead of changing the society, we just have to give in to the worst prejudices and keep them going, right? If men couldn't possibly respect a divine being, if they didn't relate to it as a man, and that, could relate to all the man things like peeing standing up and whatever else, you want to associate with that sort of physical embodiment. Because it's not an identity, is it? When we're talking about God, we're not talking about masculine and imposing a sex on God. We're not talking about an identity. We're trying to link it up to a power system. In historically, in human constructs have been based on the idea of male dominance. And this, he's basically saying is, look, the world was really unfair. Men are animals. And men won't respect women because we've taught them not to respect women. So we have to keep God as a he because we can't trust men to not be violent.
Heaven
so bad.
must be the source of moral commands, such as do not murder and do not steal.
Ooh. Don't commit sexual assault's not on that list, though. And obviously, like, having that in a masculine voice has really solved all the crime problems. Thinking that God's a man, that's really been a massive crime prevention in places where, they had like multiple ideas of what God's gender or sex could be. And then when they got rid of the idea of the feminine, ooh, that crime problem, it just went right down. No crime if you think God's a man.
If the father figure / rule giver that boys need is not on earth, a morally authoritative masculine God can serve as an effective substitute. And
who cares what women need? I mean, let's think about it. What about the needs of girls? Screw girls. That's not like they're people. They're just there to, to be the sexual providers for the assumed men that the Bible only allows to exist by definition because everyone else is considered outside the pale. So let's just, women can just deal. What we really need to do is justify the idea that God should be treated as a man because it'll stop the problems of fatherlessness, which you've already said are a massive problem. So clearly it's not solving fatherlessness. And having the Bible written, it's just, this is so poor. This is so poor.
Any discomfort you might feel with the masculine depiction of God is not comparable to the pain we will all feel.
So ladies, just because you feel alienated from your own religion's depiction of God, that doesn't matter because men might attack you. And we have to bring everything down to what men need. Your needs are secondary. What's really important, ladies, doesn't matter how you feel disassociated from your faith. We have to deal with men and their needs first. Because they're the ones who really matter. Sorry. I mean, that's what Prager is saying, essentially. We have to organize everything around these evil boys that are going to destroy our society. And the only way to do that, or one way to do that apparently, is to say our father, not our mother. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard today.
Boys are not civilized into good men.
This is so misandrous.
To transform a wild boy into a good man,
Wow, boys are wild. Boys are inherently evil. What is this misandry? Seriously. This is the worst take on men I've seen. I've never seen a feminist who's been this misandrist in my life. He's basically saying men are criminals, and it's only by taming them with violence and threats of violence that we can have a decent society.
male role model is as necessary as a male rule giver. So when the Bible...
So the role model of the Bible is destruction, allowing the King David to just have sex with whomever he wanted, and killing his child to punish him, an innocent baby.
Depicts God as merciful, compassionate, and caring for the poor and the widow.
Doesn't. No. There's Jesus preaching this stuff, but he didn't do it. Jesus didn't have no money. Jesus wasn't out there like feeding people from his bank account. He wasn't liquidating his assets in order to give to charity. He wasn't setting up pension funds for widows and orphans. He was telling other people to do it. He didn't do anything. Jesus just talked. Hey, why don't you give money? Hey, why don't you go to church? Hey, why don't you be nice? He didn't do shit. Jesus didn't leave a foundation to take care of people when he was gone. He just ordered everybody else around. So no, don't tell me God is merciful and compassionate, caring for the poor and the widow. Only people can show other people mercy. Only people can show other people compassion. And only people take care of the poor and the widows. And it's not your notion of God.
It is not so much interested in describing God as in providing a model for humans.
So I see someone who was talking about Jesus overturning the table of the money changers, and of course I'm assuming you're a little bit the money lenders. They weren't money lenders; they were money changers. Techno squidgy, and a little bit about ancient Hebrew blasphemy practices. If you look at, just like there are more versions of the creation story than one, there's 2 versions of the creation story. There are 3 different versions of the 10 Commandments in the Bible. They're in different places. One's in Exodus, one's in Deuteronomy, one's somewhere else. They're not always like listed like the 10 Commandments, but you can find different versions of the 10 Commandments, at least 3 that I'm aware of. One of them says to not have any graven images. Roman coin, other coins at the time had images engraved of people on their coins, and this was not allowed on Jewish coins. So when Jews from all over the ancient world went on pilgrimage, went to Jerusalem for Passover or other holidays, they brought their coin with them from all over the realm, from Greece, from Rome, and different parts of the Middle East, and they all had graven images on their coin. So the role of the money changers, not lenders, changers in the temple was before you got into the sacred part of the temple. If you remember, maybe you don't, but the way that the temple is laid out is that it's basically like the secular world, and then there's a filter, like where women can still get in, where you're inside the temple, but you're not in the holiest place, and women are allowed in that place because, women are unclean or could be unclean. Men, of course, are awesome because they don't bleed. They don't, in order to reproduce on a regular basis. Anyway, then there's another part where you can get through a gate. Women wouldn't be allowed inside, but men would be allowed inside. Then you could do your sacrifices. And then there was increasingly, the closer you got to the physical house of God, the more sacred the place became. So you couldn't take in blasphemous graven images on your coins to pay for your sacrificial lamb, because you're not going to bring a lamb all the way from Athens, where you're living. If you're going on pilgrimage, you're just going to buy one in Jerusalem when you get there. So actually, it makes no sense that Jesus would have gone after the money changers, because the money changers, all they were doing was their job was to trade out whatever random coin from all across the what's the word I'm looking for? The empire that you happen to have in your pocket, and give you coin that you could use inside the temple. And that was their job. They made money. That was their living. Helping other people comply with God's law was the point of the money changers. So why is he tipping over their tables? I mean, it sounds good if, you're maybe a Gentile from the outside. And of course, this story was, I'm pretty sure, is this in the Synoptics? Yeah, I guess it must not be in the Synoptics, not in John. I'd have to check where the money changers story ends up. But he was just being a jerk. Jesus. He was basically challenging Jewish law, and he could be a critic of it. But the fact is that those people were providing an important service that other Jews depended on in order to do their sacrifices. So, screw you, Jesus. I'm out of here. All right.
Especially...
Carl got milkshaked again. Natalie, do you mean in today he's gotten milkshaked again? Can you, yeah, if you can put a link in the description. You're a mod, Natalie. So if you have a link to the video, we'll watch it during the show. Otherwise, we're going to try to get through this rest of this dumb... a role model for humans and especially males, right? He just negates the existence of women. Today he got it. He got Milkshake today. All right, I'll see if I can track that down. It's all about marginalizing women, this video. Basically what he's saying is the most important thing are boys, and the boys are important because they're basically monsters. They're sociopathic monsters in society that are a threat to us all. So the only way we can possibly deal with these sociopathic boys that are, women are giving birth to is to have sort of sociopathic but like benevolent dictator men who can use violence and threats of violence to keep these boys in line. And women, well, look, y'all should be grateful that you're not getting more sexually assaulted. You all should be grateful that we're letting, we have strong men to keep control of these men so they don't murder you. Basically, you need to shut up and just be grateful that we're dealing with this massive threat to your existence, which is men. Am I wrong, guys? Am I wrong? All right.
Males to emulate. If God were depicted as female, young men would deem traits such as compassion, mercy, and care for the downtrodden as feminine and would not identify with them.
But it's absolutely fine for women to identify with masculine norms through a man. This is it. You're basically saying when it comes to cross-identification, it's unacceptable to ask men to identify with a woman, but it's completely acceptable to demand that women always identify with a masculine figure or a man figure. Why? Because women are just less important, ladies. Look, just be grateful you're not all getting sexually assaulted every Friday night. That's the most you can hope for in a society of men, according to Dennis Prager, is not being attacked. And that's enough for you to shut up and just deal with the fact that God's a man.
But if God, their Father in heaven, who is strong, on occasion even a warrior, cares for the poor and loves justice, mercy, and kindness.
We can't expect men to respect women. It's too far to go, ladies. We can't have things that are associated with the feminine be respected by men, because then they'd have to treat you like human beings who are equal. And of course we can't have that because it's a patriarchy. So look, ladies, we're just going to have to keep all of the good stuff. Kindness, mercy, justice, all of that. The strength and the compassionate. That has to be masculine. And then being a slut, that's for y'all. That's the ladies' part. Is having babies and allowing us to either, have sex with you and then call you a slut, or not have sex with us and we'll call you a prude. That's your role in life, ladies. Be happy.
Then these traits are also masculine. And
yes, because boys will only respect masculine things. Why? Because you were taught to only respect masculine things. And this is the toxic notions of, dehumanizing women and subordination of women that patriarchy reinforces and then wants to perpetuate. And this is what Dennis Prager is trying to do. He's trying to justify the dehumanization of women and the privileging of men. Because men's needs are greater, even because men cause more problems. And it all is a justification for why we need to sublimate the feminine, sublimate women, and give everything, all credit, all power to the masculine. And women will just have to identify with the masculine, but not be men. Deal with it, ladies. You'll never be good enough. You'll always be in second place because you're women. That's pretty much what this is saying.
To be emulated. The argument that girls equally need female role models to avoid violence is objectively not true, because
of course, he's not talking about the cross pathology of putting everything that's good and associating it with the masculine. Let's see if he does. Because women are soft and non-violent, right? So we don't need to worry about girls being violent, except when we do, of course. Then women's, girls who are violent and acting out don't get treated, get the sort of attention that boys do.
Because the problem of mayhem and violence is overwhelmingly a male one.
Men are the real threat to society, women. So we need to make sure you feel subordinate while we take care of these men we assume are violent. Again, the misandry.
Of course girls need female role models.
Well, don't we need both masculine and feminine role models? Don't we just need good role models? Honestly, isn't that, why do you need a good female role model? Why can't you just have a good role model? Because if you think about it, a person who is a good role model can transcend that kind of thing. You can be a good parent without being man, woman, whatever, gender, sex. That's irrelevant to you being a good role model. But of course, here, Susie Homemaker is going to teach her daughter to be just as passive and to be just as self-negating, to make sure the needs of her brothers and her fathers, just like in a date with your family video. Right? The girl was self-negated in terms of that she wasn't putting her academic studies first. She was helping the family's meal get ready, because that's her role. That's Dennis Prager's.
But not to
idea.
Avoid violence.
Oh, yeah.
And
See, if we just had more violent women, then maybe we could call God a she. I think maybe does this video end with Dennis Prager calling for worldwide increases in violence by women so that we can have a reason to get a God that's called she? Because by his logic, that's what it would take to change it.
And like boys, girls are more likely to obey a male authority figure.
Why is that? Why is that? Is that because that's what they're presented with? Do you think that maybe if we had a society where people are respected because they're an authority, not just because they're men, that girls would also be as likely to obey a woman as a man authority figure? The fact that this is a symptom of patriarchy doesn't justify it as a reason to continue it. And this is another thing you'll see a lot of times with patriarchal thinking. They will take an outcome of patriarchy and assume that's the normal state of things. And because in their minds, that's the normal state of things, it justifies the patriarchy. But we only have that outcome because of the patriarchy. And it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like self-reinforcing or a circular argument. You need to break out of that circle. Think outside the box. Question the system. Don't justify
A report
it.
released by the Minnesota Psychological Association concluded in a study of female inmates, more than half came from a father-absent home.
Wait, what does that have to do? Wait, we were just talking about the importance of male authority figures, and now he's just... what does this have to do with God? This is like a total ridiculousness. This video has nothing to do with justifying why God should be called a he. It's justification of the misandry against men and the subordination and marginalization of women. That's what it should have been called, this video.
It is therefore ironic that some women are attempting to render the God of Western religious morality less masculine, because if their goal is achieved, it is women who will suffer most from lawless males.
I can't even get... this is like witch-burning thinking. If we don't call my God a he, which is what I'm used to, then women are going to die and be hurt because of these inherently lawless... I can't believe the misandry in this. I've never seen such a misandrist video in my life. Really, this takes the cake. This assumption about the men's nature and boys' nature is, frankly, this is vile. And the idea that women need to just kowtow and cower before and not challenge things like the assumed masculine nature of God. Well, if you do that, ladies, you might get beaten. If you do that, ladies, you might be sexually assaulted by these men that are being held back, that are being, we're protecting you with this he pronoun. Don't rattle the cage, ladies. Don't look for your own equality. It's only by admitting you are inferior that you can be protected. What an ass.
We have too many absent fathers on earth to begin to even entertain the thought of having no father in heaven.
You know who makes up the majority of inmates in prisons? Men and women's prisons? Christians in the United States. So if Daddy in the sky was a magical solution, we would not see so many people who are Christian in the prison system, or any religion that treated God as a masculine. We should see a reduction compared with people who see God as whatever else. But of course, he's not interested in the empirical. This is just awful. Awful.
I'm Dennis Prager.
You are a waste of
Thank you for watching
oxygen.
this video.
This is, and of course, then get the Alright, downvote this crap. Downvote, downvote. I'm gonna check Twitter here, you guys, to see if I can find this video. Not video. Search. Carl. I'm hearing rumors in the chat that Carl's been milkshaked. And of course I don't. I mean, not that I doubt any of you, it's just that I tend to want to see these myself. Alright. So, Carl Benjamin should really learn how to milkshake duck. Send tweet, don't know. Carl Benjamin is the second most toxic thing inflicted on Salisbury. Huh. Oh! Oh yeah, they did. Okay, so Fluctibus Flood. There we do have video. We do have it. So first he got banned from the hustings. And oh, they got him on the side this time. That's a milkshaking. That's definitely a milkshaking. What's the other one we got here? Oh, yeah. That looks a little thicker and creamier than the others, to be honest. That looks more milk. That looks less like a flavored milk, which is disappointingly what the British call milkshake, and more like a McDonald's milkshake, which is, I think, how they technically differentiate between an ice cream milkshake and just chocolate and just flavored milk. But what I don't get is, like, so if that's yeah, that would be like a vanilla milkshake, for instance. Yeah, but yeah, I don't get how you call it a milkshake without having milk. So we got the latest milkshaking. Breaking, shops order to stop selling milk, Nesquik, plastic jugs and spoons during visits by Farage, Tommy Robinson and Carl Benjamin. Oh, yep. Oh, another, it's all down his shirt. That's the same photo. Alright, you guys, so another Carl Milkshook of a cod. Looking to see if, that seems to be about it. What's this? A wee prank. Oh, okay, there's someone else just memeing. Oh, so there you go, guys. Breaking news. Carl Benjamin, Milkshook in Salisbury. You can go to Twitter, check out more. I'm sure a video will follow. There are too many people around those places right now to not have video footage eventually emerge. Although it usually takes a little bit longer because it's on their phone and people have to upload it. So no, some old videos, but nothing new. Alright guys, we are, oh my gosh, I'm so late in calling my family. So I really need to get going here. We went way over. Posted a GIF to my Twitter in response to the Prager video. Yeah, let's just check that out really quick. On Twitter? Oh, is this it? I live in constant fear of God and the fate of eternal damnation. Oh, this is actually, that's really sad. I remember when I used to fear hell. I remember actually the psychological terror of working yourself up into the an anxiety because of being tortured for all of eternity. And people do this to themselves on a daily basis because of faith. And it makes me really sad that people mentally torture themselves because their religion teaches it's a good thing to do. Right? So thanks for the little GIF. If that was yours, I don't know. There's a lot of, I have to check up on my mentions in Twitter. Alright guys, let me move over to the big 1, 2 camera. Sorry. And we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. It went longer than I thought. What else am I gonna say? I hadn't really prepared for the end when I started it. Go check out, I saw Kevin maybe was in the chat. So go check out Kevin's channel. The Cognitive Society was in the chat briefly. Don't know if he's still there or not, but go check out his channel. Oh, yep, there he is. Who else is cool? Natalie is awesome. So thank you for coming by, HK. Thank you as well. I'm planning on being back next Sunday, and also probably next Sunday I'll need to do a patrons hangout as well, because it's the end of May. I don't know how this happened, but it's basically the end of May already. So I need to get going on that. There will invariably be a happy hour. I'm sure Kevin and I will do one more happy hour before the election takes place, although we haven't booked it, so I have no idea where or when. Might be the Wednesday night, might be Monday night. Watch the space. What else? Yeah, I think that's about it. So otherwise, you guys, thanks for sharing part of your Sunday with me. I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever and whenever you are. Thanks to people in the chat for hanging out. Thank you guys in the future for watching what is quite a lot of nonsense. And I've been Christy. You guys have been awesome. So until next time, goodbye from me. And goodbye from the chat. And we'll see each other again really soon. So now I have to hit the stop streaming button, and then I have to hit another button. Then I can actually look at the camera and put my finger on the clicker so it looks like I'm not looking at what I'm doing and saying goodbye to you in the camera. So goodbye, you guys. See you next week.